cleaning the inside of the office there.
Yes. Oh, my. 2nd and 10, Green Bay. The Packers 45. Love takes play action back to throw. Deep drop. Has time. Rainbows for Reed down the left side. And Reed makes the catch inside the 5. A sensational over-the-shoulder catch. Down he goes at the 1-yard line of Los Angeles. What a throw. What a play. What a catch. 1st and goal to go the 1. And here's the handoff. Jacobs picks his way, bounces to the right, to the outside. He's got an angle. He's to the end zone, to the pylon. Touchdown. Folks, you just would not believe how many green and gold fans are here. Snap to Stafford, under pressure. He's headed sack, back of the 45-yard line. Edgerrin Cooper, the rookie 2nd-rounder out of Texas A&M. From 46 yards away, out of the hold of Daniel Whelan. Matt Orzik on the snap. Here it is, placement made. Kick is end over end to the uprights, and it is good.
All right, young fella.
2nd and 6 off the gain of 4. Williams again the lone back. Stafford under center. Give Williams. Williams up the middle, and he's hit and taken down. Ball comes loose. Up for grabs. The Packers have it. Picked up by McKinney. He's on the move to the 30, and down he goes. Green Bay football. McKinney made the recovery. The action. Looking downfield, right lane, left side. Tucker Kraft wide open, left sideline, 40, 30, 25, 20, all the way to the end zone for the touchdown. Tucker Kraft tight-roughing the left sidelines to the end zone, and the Packers into the lead.
He's a tough nut, too.
He is. 2 safeties high, snap to Stafford, looking under a blitz. Rainbows down the left side. It is intercepted. Intercepted by that man. X on the spot, McKinney coming back the other way, plus the 40 to the 45. And for the 5th game in a row, Xavier McKinney, the interception. Davis Allen, a tight end, made the tackle. Green Bay football.
5 games in a row. Absolutely amazing. Packer fans engaged, Ram fans eating and drinking.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully not too heavily. The drinking part of me. Stafford looking, waiting, throws. It's broken up. Incomplete.
Yes.
Broken up on the play on a slant pattern. There is your dagger. Finally. Jordan Love ducks in under center. Josh Myers drops to a knee, and that does it. Final seconds melt away. The Packers have hung on for a hard-fought 24-19 victory over the Los Angeles Rams. And with the win, Green Bay now 3-2. The Rams fall to 1-4.
You know, as the coaches ran off the field, I kind of caught eyes with Tom Clemens, and he gave me one of those little shrugs like the Jordan meme. Did you see that look? Michael indicating he can't believe it. Letting me know, hey, on any given Sunday, and that's what you got. And these games come down to very little margin.
Game of margins, game of inches, and the Packers come out with all of them on their side. 24-19 victory chicken Monday. Once again, make it a double order as the Badgers beat the brakes off the Boilermakers on Saturday at the camp. A beautiful weekend to cleanse the palate and get some winning back in the soul for Wisconsin sports fans. What is going on? I'm Billy Schmidt. What on earth was that?
We're cleansing the palate. Washing it out.
I didn't know we cleansed the palate with a cannonball, but let's leap right into it with John Coon on the NickLayLaw.com talking text line. It's 414-799-1973. John, that was a weekend we all needed. And hey, they don't put style points on this bad boy. Victory and now 3-2, whole lot better than 2-3, which could have been the alternative at SoFi yesterday.
Yeah, that was, looking back at where the NFC stands right now, that actually turned into a pretty big ramification type game with a lot of things on the line, with it being in the conference, the number of teams right now that sit at 3-2 or 2-3. It's nearly the entire conference in the NFC. So to be on the upper half of the 3-2, 2-3 group is so huge. To have a tiebreaker against one of those teams in that 2-3, 3-2 group, which is what that thing would have been. Had the Packers lost yesterday, had they not finished that thing off, they would be tied with the Rams at 2-3, with losing the tiebreaker to them, with the 49ers at 2-3, with the Cardinals at 2-3, with the Saints at 2-3.
Eagles are 2-2 right now. Yeah.
The Eagles at 2-2. The Giants at 2-3. And then you got everybody else at 3-2. I mean, you got the Commanders, you got the Vikings, and then everybody else is 3-2 or 2-3.
Yeah.
So that's why, man, you never know. We do take the mindset of it's just one game, but you never know if just one game is going to be that game that leaps you into that upper echelon, that top 7 that get to make the playoffs, or if it's the one game that you miss out on it by. So any game in the NFL is important to get a victory. Style points, I don't worry about style points on the road. At home, I do. At home, that's where, had we played against the Rams at home and been rusty, had we gone 1 for 7 on third down or 1 for 8 on third down at home, and the Rams had gone 50% on us at home, and the Rams had outrushed us at home, I would have a bigger problem with this. But with this being on the road, with this being the travel circumstances, with this being, the Rams, they had a lot more to put into this because they're on the bye week this week. I tend to think yesterday was a pretty solid victory. I got one thing I'd like to remove from that game, and that's that pick 6 from Jordan Love.
Oh, yeah.
Everything else, man, you battled, you clawed, you fight, and you get yourself a victory. And style points, man, I'll worry about style points in the NFL until I get home.
Yeah, and I'm not worried about it. And you can think about it. And luckily, John, it gives even more for the coaches to correct. And you mentioned it. Let's get right to it. It was one of the biggest topics on the postgame show yesterday, was the decision for Jordan Love in the pick 6 that put him behind the 8 ball. Frankly, it's a strange way, and I can positively spin zone it, and did last night on the postgame show. Luckily, they get the ball back right away and get an opportunity to put some points on the board, because otherwise you're looking at that possibly, if that's a safety and Jared Verse, the rookie pass rusher, I don't think he wraps him up because he doesn't want to get a personal foul roughing the passer in the end zone. He gets a clear shot on Love and just bumps him, throws the whole play wacky, pick 6, 2 minutes to go before the end of the first half. You get the ball back and they go down and score. Otherwise, that's a safety. It's 2 points the other way. Say the Rams go and do anything with that situation and they get the ball back at the end of the half. Wow, it could have went remarkably bad. But the response is something to be able to be proud of. And damn, Jordan Love was on one in the second half, especially in that third quarter after that pick 6.
Yeah, I thought the pick 6 definitely woke Jordan up. It was kind of the smelling salts underneath the nose.
Yeah,
that got
those will wake you up now.
Got him to pay some attention there and led to a nice little drive there for a field goal before the half. And then I think he was at one point 9 for 9 on his next 9 passes after the interception.
2 tugs.
Before the one incompletion to Dontavian Wicks. So it definitely woke him up. I can't sit here and say a pick 6 is ever better than a safety. However, with that being said, if we could eliminate that one thing, that one, because I need a clean game at a Jordan. Again, we're on the road. But
especially in California.
I need to get a damn clean game out of Jordan Love, as we're about 6 weeks into this. I know he missed a couple weeks, but I want to see a complete game, a Jordan Love. Just give me one out of that streak of 8 that you had last year. Just give me one.
Well,
just something, just a little more, so a little taste. And then, I understand. And I think we even had this conversation before the season started. Like, we're not expecting Jordan Love to have an entire 17-game season like his last 8 games last year.
Sure. It's not
None
realistic.
of us thought that was, not in the league where other teams get paid, other players get paid. There are other great coaching minds around. We didn't expect that kind of season. But we expect a game or 2 or 3 like that last 8 games last year. I'm ready to take one now. I'm ready to get one. I had 3 of these other games. I'm ready to get one of these vintage Jordan Love comes out and just kind of, type game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, the mistake-free season it was ever realistic, and he's had an uneven start with the injuries and things like that. So I would agree, John, that I'm looking forward to him having a cleaner game without turnovers. Turnovers have been part of his game so far this year, but I still look at a couple of them as kind of fluky. It wasn't a good decision to try and yeet it yesterday, but most of the time, I think he actually gets away with that. It just happened to go right to a guy in the wrong spot. I don't know
And
if
they
that's
brutally misidentified the blitz. They
Yeah.
even mentioned
The
it
coverage
in the
was-
post game. The
the
protection was completely flipped.
That's
What the
part of it.
Rams were doing yesterday was we have to find an answer for that, or we're going to be in a world of hurt.
Right, the protection's gotta
because
get
this is
figured
now
out.
2 days in a row. They copied Flores'
Mhm.
style, his approach at the line of scrimmage, and we were befuddled. And granted, this is the ebbs and flows of the NFL. As a Flores defense takes off and as a team undefeated, like the Minnesota Vikings are, everybody's going to look around at what their defense is doing and how their defense got Jordan Love to turn the ball over 3 times, how the defense got Aaron Rodgers to turn the ball over 3 times. They're going to start saying, can we do that with our guys? Can we teach our guys how to do that? Well, that's what you saw. And that's why I think, honestly, yesterday, Matt LaFleur is undefeated against Sean McVay. But I think Sean McVay and his coaching staff outcoached the Packers coaching staff for a decent portion of that game, at least in the first half, where they had them on their heels, off balance, and questioning a lot of the coverages and pressures that they were bringing defensively. So yes, I mean that was a big thing, and that's something the Packers are going to have to get a grip on going forward because it's a copycat league. We're going to see other defenses do that as well.
And let's face it, I mean, the jackpot explosive plays that the Packers had are what won the game yesterday. I mean, they really never consistently stopped the Rams from moving the ball. Packers had their own protection issues consistently, but they did get those jackpot plays. The huge one of Jaden early in the game. Fantastic, beautiful artwork, right? Tucker Kraft is just a beast child. You know what I mean? Like an absolute monster, making those big plays. Those big explosive plays are what win you games in the NFL when everything else is going around you. Xavier McKinney forcing turnovers or getting takeaways. Incredible stuff. But you're right, obviously a lot to work on there. But you never shake a stick at going on the road out west and winning. It's always a place that's tough for the Packers to win on the road. I don't have to remind you guys how many times you heard it. Packers hadn't beat the Rams in L.A. since 1966. I was like the Lyndon Johnson.
We're just breaking streaks
administration.
this year.
So getting a win there matters, and that's what matters. But yes, there's
78-year streak and an infinity streak. We've broken 2 streaks this year.
Just do it, right? Why not? So I don't know. I think things are, like you said, John, back at home. I think we're going to see more of a mistake-free Jordan Love performances, but the protection piece is interesting. I just felt like watching, from where I sit, for the second week in a row, we couldn't get consistent pressure, and the other team did, and that's just what it felt like. Maybe that's,
Well,
the
we'll let
bias
PFF
is-
let us know exactly
Yes,
what the pressure rates are from
Let the
everybody, and
gods
make
at
sure that we
PFF.
know what that comes to. But John, AAA Dante, unpopular opinion, the better quarterback's on the sideline. I don't know that any other Packer fans are going to believe that or be going in that direction.
That espresso almost came out my nose when you said that, right? You're talking about the Packers sideline. You're
That's
talking
what I'm
about
guessing he would
Malik
say.
Willis,
Yeah, that's what I'm
the
guessing he would
quarterback
say.
that's 2-0 is the better quarterback. Let's not get crazy. We're very thankful. We're very appreciative for what Malik Willis has done and come to Green Bay and accomplished and getting us through a 2-game slide that we didn't have Jordan Love. Could you imagine had he not done that? Could you imagine where we'd be sitting had he not done that? If we'd be sitting at 1-4 or 2-3, but we're not, because Malik Willis did a great job as a backup quarterback to lead the guys in a different type of game plan to a victory. I want to know this. I'm glad Triple A brings that up, because it does bring me to this point. Why the hell does our run game not look like it did those 2 games when Malik Willis was the quarterback?
So
I mean, the Rams were the worst rush defense in the NFL. They were
Coming in,
worse than
yeah.
the Tennessee Titans. They were worse than the Indianapolis Colts. And we are not running the same way. We don't have the variation in the run game. We don't have the bells and whistles with the run game. And we sure as heck don't have the dedication to the run game. I said this to somebody after the game yesterday. It doesn't feel like we're running to actually run the football these last 2 games. It feels like we're running just to say, look, we're still running here. Pay attention. We're running. Okay, now we're passing, running.
So
Passing. It doesn't feel the same. It feels like we're just checking boxes here with the run game.
So that's interesting, because somebody called in last night, asked, why aren't we dedicated to the run? I'm like, well, you ran 55% of the time. You ran more than you threw it tonight. And I didn't feel that way, John. So what do you mean by that? I mean, I think there's also part of it is you didn't have many plays in the first half, right? A lot of 3 and outs, and they're behind the sticks a lot, right? Like in the second half when Zach Tom gets the false start and ends up throwing a couple of times at the back end there with like 3.5 minutes to go, it's 1st and 15. They were 1st and 15 a couple more times. I didn't feel that, but I'm interested to see and hear why you did. That it just doesn't seem like they're dedicated enough when Jacobs gets the ball 19 times yesterday.
Yeah, so for me, it's not necessarily about the final tally of the runs. It's kind of what the runs look like, right? I mean, think about how creative we were with the jet sweeps and the inside handoffs and the pulling guards and tackles and tight ends, and it doesn't feel like we have that dedication to really push the other team around. Even if our statistics say we ran the ball more than what we passed it yesterday. Sometimes that can come down to a quarterback taking some sacks and not getting passes off or running the football a couple times, dropping back. But Josh Jacobs with 19 carries, that's a good number for Josh Jacobs to have, especially when you trickle in Manuel Wilson getting 6 there. So that's 25 carries for the running backs, but it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel like it felt when we leaned and pushed on, and maybe some of it
you threw it
just off of
14 and 19 times that time, those games too.
It's just off of production, right? If you get production, maybe you can feel more inclined to stick with it
when it's working, of course, because you're trying to have positive plays. So yeah, if you're not running into the line getting 1 and 2 yards for the first few, it's just what it felt like.
Well, and play callers that are former quarterbacks,
they want to pass,
they want to throw it.
I know
they want to throw the ball. Like in LaFleur's not the only one in here, and I see it all across the league, right? McVay, former wide receiver, he wants to throw it. Kyron Williams was able to chew it up yesterday, and now luckily 30 of his 102 came on one run and broke away a couple of times. But I think there's some of it was volume, some of it was they ran like 55 plays. Like it's a disoriented game. It was weird to start.
Weird, yeah.
Otherwise, outside of the one touchdown drive in the field goal, which is the final drive of the first half, it was all 3 and outs. Like it was just a very, very strange game played by the Packers. But luckily, you correct all those on a Victory Chicken Monday, and I got to imagine a Victory Monday at 12:65.
Oh, they got to have off today. You would think, right?
Light lift for the boys. Was that the message last night on the plane?
Did they give them a Victory Monday?
I don't know.
I didn't know that these guys get Victory Mondays anymore.
Damn, after that long flight, I thought that was going to be baked in.
Is it like excused absence, but you got to come in for a lift and you got to check in to the facility?
We're not going to do excused and unexcused absences, not off of what happened in the tails.
Okay, that's not the right term. What's the right term?
I don't think because they have so much damn load management, they can't give guys true Victory Mondays.
Well, I know there is not an off day for Coach LaFleur. He's got a conversation with Romeo today. That's what he said yesterday.
And Matt Schneidman, apparently. We don't have a conversation with Matt Schneidman today. But
he's flying right now. He told me last night.
Matt's got an appointment with Romeo Dobbs? Schneidman?
No, Matt LaFleur's got an appointment with Romeo Dobbs. Matt Schneidman reportedly has a meeting with Matt LaFleur later on today, which makes sense, because they do the Matt LaFleur podcast, which then airs on the Matt Schneidman show here on 97.3 The Game, your home for Packers football. So hopefully our boy doesn't have any issues coming from LAX.
I hope not. I don't think he's not coming direct back to Green Bay. So I'm assuming he's got to transfer in either Minneapolis, Denver, or Chicago.
And we know how much he loves airports.
He loves it. He's got problems, but hey, maybe he'll see Anders again. Who knows? Maybe he'll see a different kicker. Maybe JJ Mosley's
hopefully
there.
Doesn't see Brandon McManus on that plane.
Maybe. That's a great point, Billy. Hopefully
414-799-1973. Victory Chicken Monday. It wasn't pretty. It didn't feel great. But if that smells like roasted chicken, it smells like a victory. It smells like a win for the Packers, and they go to 3-2 on the young season. But how early is too early to start asking questions as to when the rust starts wearing off of Jordan Love? We got to talk about Tucker Kraft, who just might be him. And Jaden Reed makes a play each and every week that you just laugh and say, I'm really glad he's on our team. We'll go around the NFL coming up in hour number 2. 414-799-1973. Your reaction to a Packers 24-19 victory. Didn't look pretty, but it works, and it's in the win column, and we're talking about it, reacting with you. John Kuhn, Billy Schmidt, Armin Sarian, 9 to noon, off and running. Stay wide on the game. Cheesehead TV making a t-shirt stat. Jayden Reed yesterday after the Packers 24-19 win, he's talking about the 53-yard pass play that sets up the Packers at the 2 for the game's first score and Josh Jacobs' first score as a Green Bay Packer. Welcome back. It's 9 to noon on the game, and believe it, Reed down there somewhere. He tweeted out after the game, and you look at that still shot, John Kuhn, Armin Sarian, Nooners on the NicolaLaw.com talking text line. I mean, that is one of the best pictures that Jayden Reed will ever have in his basement of the ball landing perfectly in his hands, just underneath a Ram who's draped all over him, trying to get a hand on it. Just a beautiful play yesterday. And one of those where you say, I'm glad 11's on our team.
And what's funny about that is it's not normally your slot guy. It's not normally your running back-ish type wide receiver, your little jack of all trades guy. That is your deep ball, screw it, he's down there anyway type guy. That's normally a bigger body, possession type wide receiver, and yet Jayden Reed just does everything right. Like Jayden Reed on the offensive side is Xavier McKinney, right? Everything that he can do, he does right. Xavier McKinney on the defensive side, if he's down in the box and he's making a tackle, or if a ball gets knocked onto the ground, he's picking it up. If a ball gets thrown in the air, he's picking it off. Jayden Reed, if you give him the ball on a sweep, he's getting every yard that it's blocked up for and then some. And if you put him out there for a deep ball, he's snatching that thing up too. If you throw him a screen, he's getting those yards. And if you run the football, he's making the block. It's like there are some guys that just do everything right. And Jayden Reed and Xavier McKinney, I mean, it's like they're the same guy. Just one plays defense and the other plays offense.
And Tucker's the other guy I'd throw in there. I mean, these are the guys that are
Tucker
really
Kraft is just
that are emerging, that are transcending. I mean, it's special to watch those players. Now we can talk. I mean, and we do this. A lot of our conversation as Packer fans, whatever, as nation, is about the underwhelming guys. But it's good to talk about the guys that are overwhelming us in their positive ways. Guys, Tucker Kraft, obviously one of them as well. What a game yesterday. Is it crazy to think he could be all pro this year? I don't think it's crazy.
Well, last week when pressed on it, John Kuhn said, yeah, I think he absolutely can be a top 5 guy in the league. And I was just saying, like, potential in his career. Mm-hmm. Didn't think we'd be talking about him reaching that this year. I mean, like, there's going to be a lot of numbers that get thrown around, and his yards after the catch, everybody will be loving the fact, John, that it's number 1 in football. It makes sense when you have a 60-something yard catch and run. Longest by a tight end since Tom Crabtree. We got to celebrate 12 years ago, Tom Crabtree's 72-yard catch and run touchdown on a seam, which was just an elite move by a tight end. But, hey.
I remember that one. That wasn't the one against the Texans?
Against the Cardinals, I believe.
Man,
that was at home.
At home, yeah.
Wow.
And poor Crabtree, John. I mean, my man was trying to finish that Lambeau leap, but he got his waistband just over the top, and he just lays over. He's like, everybody just celebrate and tap me. I appreciate it. Thanks for the admiration.
Yeah, that's all you got to do. You just got to get up there and let someone pull you in. You know, I mean, it's not pretty. It's not style points, you know. I don't know.
3 weeks, 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks, though, by Tucker Kraft. That's a different weapon than they were having before. Very much different. And people were asking what happened to Luke Musgrave. He was on the injury report. He was listed as active. I didn't see him. It makes sense. They were trying to hold him off. Ben Sims was utilized more in that number 2 role, 414-799-1973. Chuck in Minneapolis was at the game yesterday. He said, game was awesome. Highly recommend people go visit SoFi Stadium. Definitely more Packer fans than Rams fans. That's a normality at SoFi, John, but it seemed even different than I think Packer fans are used to. That place was very green draped in the Rams house yesterday.
Yeah, it's a really unique place to go take in a football game. It doesn't have your old school football feels that you get at Camp Randall.
That's for sure.
Lambeau,
Coliseum, yeah.
At any high school around this state or the Coliseum. You're right there, Armin, but it's definitely a really cool venue. You go down into the ground. I mean, the street level is the level of the press box. And then you go down into the ground. It's a really cool stadium. And it's always buzzing, but it's never really like football loud where you're loud for a play. It's a little bit oddly, but it's very aesthetically pleasing and fun to be at. So it is a great spot. I would tell people to put that on their bucket list if they like LA.
And they've got one of those The video board's one of those ring ones, so you can watch it from like outside and underneath. What was that like? I mean, that must have been. Is that a unique experience?
That's
now?
way better than the way that Jerry Jones did it at Texas.
One
because
huge screen, basically. Yeah.
this is better because you can watch it on the inside and the outside. So if you're a player, you don't have to look straight up. You
Yeah.
can kind of look across the field. And if you're, on the upper level, it's literally right in front of you.
Yeah.
It's right in front of you on the outside of the board. So that they did that right as well. But these new stadiums, man,
Stupid.
this was the last stadium I had to, visit or be at. The only two stadiums I haven't played in are Vegas and this one. And so to walk into it was something interesting. These new stadiums, and you go back to really the Vikings was the first one that was kind of like this.
U.S. Bank,
just the fancy, way different feel of a dome. And then of course you got Vegas, and then you got this, and this is on a whole different level. This stadium is fantastic.
Yeah.
AstroTurf, which is crazy because in 2 years when the
Whoa.
World Cup's here, not AstroTurf.
Oh, field turf. Okay,
Field
yes.
turf.
I was going to say, I love that throwback to the 1990s. That would
No,
have been elite RCA dome.
See, I call
Yeah,
all turf.
yes.
I call all turf AstroTurf. but
I
it's not.
appreciate
It's
you
not.
doing that. Yes.
It's
Yes.
just turf, which is crazy because they're going to grow grass there for the World Cup. I still don't get it. The NFL makes no damn sense. And until the players union actually does something about this, and this will piss a lot of fans off, until they actually say, no, we're not going to play on that field. We're not going out. We're not playing on that field. They're going to continue to play these games on these turf fields while the league is messing other things up, talking about player safety. I don't know. It's crazy to me when you talk about MetLife, when you talk about this stadium, anywhere that the World Cup is coming to play.
AT&T Stadium.
Yeah, they're
Yep.
putting grass in.
Yeah, they're putting grass in all
How
of
is
them.
that allowable?
Well, and John, then double it up. Watch the Jets and Vikings yesterday and watch them do the time lapse of them put the artificial surface on top of the natural grass surface
Yeah.
that they'll play for all of their games in the Euro leagues and in the Premier League. It's fascinating to see what they would actually have to do to eliminate the artificial surfaces. And I think you're exactly right. The only way that they would do it, can't wait, I don't think, till the CBA, it would be, we're not playing on these anymore.
Yeah,
Or
we're not playing. We're not
No.
doing it. And I don't.
Could that be the
listen,
swap out for the 18th game?
Potentially, but I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to do that if I was players.
Yeah.
There's so much that's going to come into this next CBA. There are so many things that I don't even think we're on the precipice of the last CBA that are going to be fully entrenched in this one. When you're talking about fines that the players are taking
Oh, we got
for
the laundry list
player
of that.
safety,
Laundry
the
list.
kickoff that has been completely botched, player safety, all these things that the league just puts under this phony umbrella of player safety, and then they throw them out there. I don't care about playing on turf. Doesn't bother me. I don't care about 2 days. Didn't bother me. I don't care about number of padded practices or concussion protocols or any of that stuff because you're playing a violent game. It's on the person to take care of themselves. What I care about is when you say one thing but do another, right? And that's what the NFL does in this instance. It's completely hypocritical that they would find. Josh Jacobs the other week got fined something like $40,000 for protecting himself by lowering his
Running
shoulders.
the
Guess what's
football.
attached to his shoulders? His head.
Yeah, the level of the fine is on those things. I know we're not into it yet, but that's what surprises me is the level of the fines. I think they're a little egregious. I think if you want to fine guys, well, you don't have to fine them that much for something that doesn't seem to be.
Oh, just wait.
a clear
Just wait.
rule.
We have so many lined up of the amount of
I
fines
know.
that the
I
NFL
know.
dropped out. It's hilarious to rip
Yeah,
through.
It is.
To be able to see the Packers get the victory yesterday in person had to be a good time. Now, being able to see them play a little bit more efficient would be something that we would like to see. Frank in Milwaukee said, first half, 15 passes, 10 runs. Second half, 11 passes, 18 runs. With having the ball for over 8+ minutes in the fourth quarter, drop passes in the first half, stop drives. And they really did. Now, I saw a stat earlier on that I think only second to Lazard in New York. Dontavian Wicks, 5 drops, second most in football so far through 5 weeks. They just seemed a little uncharacteristic. There also was one from the aforementioned Jaden Reed, John, that halted a drive there in the first half. Is it oversimplification when I just say get the first down, allows the drive to actually get going, and then we could maybe see some rhythm from the Packers offense? Because that was like the biggest issue, it felt like, in that first half.
That's what I meant about really trusting the run game. If you look, and I'll just run through a couple of the series. First series, first down, pass incomplete.
Mm-hmm.
Second series, pass short right, then you get a first down on the run, then you get pass short right for 4 yards. Jacobs up the middle, Reader on the left. That touchdown drive, nice little mix, but you have to complete it. If you're throwing first down, you have to complete it.
Yep.
It has
to be
it has to be a completion. It really does.
I know the look might be what you want, but you got to get it.
Then you get the third drive, you get the 3rd and 2, pass incomplete to Jaden Reed. That's the one you talk about, right? Then you get pass incomplete to Dontavian Wicks on first down of the next drive. Then you get the interception, which started with a pass short left for 3 yards. It's just, it felt like it was all just struggling to get into a rhythm, get into a groove. And I feel like when you are in that groove, especially in the second half, as you look, Billy, the second half, the Packers ran the ball much more effectively. Much more effectively.
But
more attempts in the run game.
But the false starts are coming at the worst times too. And Aaron used to always say drops are going to happen, physical mistakes I get, but the mental mistakes we're getting. The Wicks drops are frustrating, but he's open, Billy. You talked about it a lot last night on Packers OT, so that's fine.
Yeah, he's going to keep getting the football. He's open too much to not see the football.
And I know he'll get those figured out. But the false starts, when we're at 1st and 10, we just got a first time, we're trying to run the clock out. Now we're behind the sticks. Now we're thinking we got to pass. Dontavian, you can't have those false starts, though. I'm just saying that.
Does my guy Zach Tom get 1 mulligan in 5 games?
No, I mean, in Zach's, he had 1, so that's Zach. But Dontavian had 1 yesterday. We just can't.
How are they even seeing my big man do that, John? Come on, he barely even moved.
This
is what makes the game so fantastic. It's like, there's 11 guys on the field at the same time.
That's right.
You know what? And there's probably 11 drives in a football game. And each drive can be thwarted by one guy messing up one play or one false start. So everybody can have equal blame in this. And you can also say, he only messed up one time.
Right.
Come on,
when the other team's getting paid too, it's that close of a game. That's why, I mean, when you look at it, that 2-minute drive that the Rams had, Bill, you talk about a safety versus a touchdown, and one could have been better than the other. That 2-minute, the fact that the refs missed the catch, had to review it, had to take time off the clock, get all that settled. That thing took about 4 minutes.
That was a wild situation.
That allowed the Packers during a 2-minute drill that should have been in hurry up mode. That allowed the Packers to cycle out their defensive line, be completely fresh,
get a rest,
and get a sack on the next play.
Yeah, and it's amazing. That's why this is the ultimate team game, though. Just what you said. I mean, can you imagine if
it's why analytics don't do it for me in football.
I understand.
I love all the numbers I can get in baseball when it's mano a mano.
Too many derivative variables to be
way too many cats on the field.
Can you imagine if Shohei hit a homer and it got called back because somebody else did something?
There was an illegal hands to the face on the second baseman.
It's just totally different experience. But that's why we love the NFL, right?
It is. It's a beautiful, beautiful game. And yesterday, a beautiful outcome for the Packers being able to force 2 turnovers in the second half. Let's not lose sight of that. The third quarter is the game difference. 14-0 Packers come out of the second half locker room. And John also mentioned that, one player could end a drive. Hey, when's the guy that's getting paid more than anybody on the defensive side going to end one of those drives? Rashawn Gary, a big topic of conversation on the post-game show. We'll get into him, as well as X marks the spot, Xavier McKinney, and a host of talking text line messages as well. The talk version of that is open for you as well at 414-799-1973. It's 9 to noon with Kuhn, Billy, and Armin. Packers win. Victory Chicken Monday always feels better on the game. 9 to noon, Packers win. We're talking about it right here. Celebrations held somewhat in check. Packers go 1 of 8 on third downs. Not going to win a whole lot of games that way. Not going to win a whole lot of games in which you throw a pick six. However, when you force 2 turnovers, win the turnover differential, and John Kuhn, Armin Sarian, when you go and score touchdowns on both of those drives, big time difference makers, and you can make that difference up. 14 points in the third quarter, John, led by the defense, led by Xavier McKinney, who, I mean, if there's not a ton of 29 jerseys selling out at the Packers Pro Shop, wait for these next 2 homers. I mean, we're going to get Cardinals at noon and Texans at noon. Winter warning, a lot of white Xavier McKinneys might be flying off there on October 20th. But you talk about getting what you paid for. I think you might be without a lot of these turnovers. The guy's he's got 5 picks. They had 7 all year last year. It's remarkable.
He's got 5 picks and a fumble recovery in the first 5 games.
He's amazing.
I mean,
He's amazing.
The way he gets around the ball. I asked Larry yesterday on the bus, can he get 17 interceptions? Like, is that possible? Am I crazy for thinking he's on pace for it?
He's on pace for
until he misses. Hey, we don't. Maybe I just jinxed it. Maybe I shouldn't have talked about it. And I will hate in this next game if he doesn't get one, because
That's okay.
I shouldn't have walked into the dugout and said, "Hey, you got a no hitter going." Promise you, I won't say anything to Xavier.
John,
I won't say a word.
Don't feel bad. I mean, eventually he's going to not get one.
I mean, really? Do you know that for a fact?
I mean, no.
Do you know that for a fact?
Well, yes,
he won't?
I'm not putting limitations.
I do.
I'm not Billy at all, because I go into every game now like, all right, when's it happening? When's it happening? I thought it was happening on the third play of the game.
Yep.
That
And I thought it was happening later in the game again.
Listen, that beeline, that throw that was made from Matthew Stafford there to Tutu Atwell on the third play of the game, McKinney would have intercepted that.
Oh,
but he hit the receiver.
Oh, yeah, he had another one. Oh, he absolutely did.
I'm telling you guys, I mean, I'm going into games and I'm like, the first time the ball goes in the air and I see 2-9 anywhere in my peripheral, I'm like, that's a pick. Here we go.
It's unreal. And Armin,
awesome.
And all Armin wants to do is sit here and tell me, oh, it's going to happen someday.
Well,
he's not going to make a pick some game.
Well, that would be of all time. I mean, record, obviously.
Well, but let's think about it though. At a quarterback spot, like Deron Bland last year, what was it, 5 or 6 pick sixes he had, which was the NFL record?
Crazy.
You can stay away from a side of the field. You can't really stay away from the middle of the field, right, John? Like,
that's a good point.
That's
a
the
good
part
point
of it with McKinney. And I from seeing how he played at Ohio State, now somewhat similar the scheme, because Hafley was at Ohio State a little bit of the time when he was, to then now, I didn't realize that you'd get that comfortable in it. I didn't know that he was as good of a center fielder as he is right now. And Armin's bringing up another one later in the game, John, where the ball's in his hands. He just realizes, I'm going to front flip onto my keister here. And then the ball goes through his hands.
Yeah,
he could have had a hat trick. Like, it's a remarkable player and a hell of a find in free agency. And Jim Nantz hit it right on the head on the TV copy, John. He said, how do the Giants let this guy out of the building? Well, the Packers paid for it, but you got to be selective, and they pressed on the right button in the free agent market with Xavier McKinney to reshape that secondary. And where would they be without these 2 corners for a couple of games? And Carrington Valentine heard at one point, if they didn't have him protecting the back end.
He's quite the X factor, wouldn't you guys say?
And I love Dunname in the 608. Oh, he's out of here. Look, sorry, you just ruined it. You just ruined the show. Now Billy has to leave. You hit him with enough bad puns and analogies. Now you got to hit him with a bad dad joke.
I didn't say my Kraft yak and cheese yet.
First thing, you got the bad puns, the bad analogies, and now 2 back-to-back dead dad jokes.
Oh my Lord! And
those are so bad. Leon's making fun of you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's where we're going to put the line of demarcation on the bad dad joke. If Armin's dad doesn't like it, you swung and missed.
Well, what actually happened? I mean, what did Larry say back to you? I can only imagine what the conversation was like with Larry.
How about them pocket watching you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't like that.
Damn, John.
Well,
what's up with that?
You didn't like it so much you threw it in a montage.
Well, I did like that. I did like it to that point.
Where's my guy supposed to be? Where's my ringmate? Come on, Mick. You're supposed to be my guy.
You're be helping your quarterman out.
Yeah, it was a little, we're just joshing each other around a little bit.
Oh, my God.
Oh, Larry looked at me, and when I asked, can he make 17 interceptions this year? Rock looked over and said, maybe. Maybe.
Talk about a tough nut.
I can see him saying that. It's pretty awesome. And listen, if we're selling the jerseys in the pro shop, which we are, I want an extra floppy, those sleeves.
Oh, you want the little Michael Irvin sleeves?
Hey,
Which ones you talk about? 29?
McKinney's bringing them back.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Rasul Douglas. I mean, he had 29 popping for a
Sewell.
year or two, and
Yeah.
now McKinney is just in here, and he's taking it to a whole new level.
I like that he and some other guys around the league are bringing the floppy sleeves back.
It's a good look.
That is a theme. I haven't seen it since Demarius Randall, and we don't remember those days.
He cleaned up his own house.
You know, so
Listen, the floppy sleeves are important because those tight sleeves, you can get a really rough rash in your underarm.
there you
from
go.
them.
Oh.
Like I used to have rug burn and brush burn and pinch marks and everything else, and fullback. But
Yeah, you're gonna get help.
you can do it.
Do you make a request for the really quick? Sorry, the uniform, the way it is, you can request that from the, from I don't know who it is. Is it
Seamstress.
Marge Seamstress? Well, I don't know. It's not Marge is retired, but
you can request whatever the heck you want. It seems like these days. I mean, I see guys. I feel like their pants don't even get close to their knees.
there
Don't
you
even
go.
get close.
David Njoku's shorts. I said shorts because that's
They're
really what
bike
his football
shorts.
pants were. They were bike shorts.
Yeah, they are.
What are we doing here?
It's, and I don't understand because there was a point in time in the league when you didn't have to wear any pads you didn't want to. You didn't
Yeah.
have to wear any pads you didn't. And then they made a rule. I think it was like 2013 or 2014. You have to wear these specific pads: knee pad, thigh pad,
Mm-hmm.
shoulder pads. Like you had to wear a specific number of pads. These guys are wilding out now. There's no. I don't care if you have a pad, if it's not covering the bone. It says it's your knee pad's covering your thigh pad's covering your hip. What is covering your lower extremities? And then it's interesting.
I was expecting it to be the NFL guys wear it, but one of our offensive linemen, sophomore, came in, and my man had John like his knee pad was like on his quad.
It's
I'm like,
because it's
what
cool
are we
now.
What are we doing right now, bud? He goes, well, someone took my pants, so I had to find someone else. I'm like, okay, that's a much better excuse. All right, I appreciate it. Get out to practice and go run some.
Can I get this one? I mean, put whoever you need. Deserves triple the money by tomorrow morning. I mean, okay, so things me and Rock. Jordan not made a mistake.
Larry McCarron is one of one. He is now a Green Bay treasure that needs to be protected. I think we're getting to the point where Rock needs to be in that strategy, and we get to be able to get some of those insight with what he's got. We're also looking at more and more people that are asking, hey, we got special order them to the McCain jersey. Because right now they might be out of stock. You guys have Chris Jordan and get those 29 jerseys right now.
Let's talk about it.
Well, his lack of production and somebody else's production just might be doing that tick for tack. We'll get into that. We'll also go around the NFL. What you missed during yesterday's full slate that started early. Yesterday, actually on record, longest day of football that the NFL has seen. Started at 8:30, ended into the midnight hour. It's 9 to noon on the game hour 2 right after that. Trying to start a winning streak for the Green Bay Packers. It's at 1 currently, 24-19, the victory over the LA Rams. It's 9 to noon. Hour 2 starts up on your radio right now. 414-799-1973 is the NicoletLaw.com talk and text line. That's where Brian in Milwaukee dropped in talking about the lack of Xavier McKinney jerseys. But hey, they got plenty of A.J. Dillon and Bakhtiari jerseys. I'm now convinced they brought back A.J. Dillon just to not lose their money in the investments in the pro shop. Well, A.J. Dillon might be able to buy some of those and give them away on his podcast. Is he still doing the viewing parties? Because that was week 1. And John, hey, all guys treat being injured and being on IR very differently. AJ Dillon trying to capitalize on it, trying to be able to make make a career. I like that. Hey, get yourself going. Keep that name fresh while it is, because sadly we don't know how long it will be. So you just got to be able to capitalize and strike while the iron's hot there for AJ Dillon. And listen, the Packers going to be able to grab yourself a lot of jerseys. I imagine 11 and 29 will be the ones that are right near the top of the list of the ones that people are waiting to go and grab right away.
More than 85, more than Tucker Kraft.
Well, there's going to be a lot of Tucker Kraft jerseys as well.
Tucker Kraft is, I mean, he's starting to hit for me like Jeremy Shockey type of star status at the tight end position, like a guy that's just ready to crush some skulls and then probably crush some beers after the game. It's just, he is an absolute maniac out there on the field, delivering hits, taking hits, running with the football, blocking without the football. I mean, he is an absolute throwback of a player that's playing in today's game, and it's making it so much fun to watch.
I like the Jeremy Shockey drop. I mean, I'm very much into being able to bring back some early 2000s Miami.
Do you remember him running with the football, Billy, and how just nasty he was?
Stiff arming guys, yeah, stiff arms.
That's
and everything.
What it feels like.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember it as much. Like I'll be completely honest with you, but to be able to see a guy that is a little bit more.
Like 8 years old.
Yeah, I was only like 6 or 7. So like, but I remember seeing him into the NFL, and it wasn't as different. But you see that position continue to take over. And Drew last night asked me on Packers OT, is he already like top 5 for you? And I'm like, well, damn, dude, you're talking about some elite players at that position and some young guys that he's also in the mix with. Like, look at that sophomore class of tight ends just in the division, right? I mean, Sam Laporta, there's a lot of people that are going to struggle to be even able to put Tucker Kraft over him after the year he had last year with 10 TDs. It's a spot that is continuing to become more impactful. However, not a lot of those guys do what Tucker Kraft does in the run game.
Yeah, that's the separator. That's why I think right now I'm trying to think of a better overall tight end in the game. Like in the game. I'm not he's
George Kittle.
People will say Kittle.
George Kittle. Yeah, George Kittle.
I mean, likely he's having a big
But
game.
I'm gonna tell you what George Kittle does, Tucker Kraft does.
Yeah, he can do. Yep.
Yes. So it's a little early. He's got 2 games back to back with some touchdowns. And the thing that's going to really, and this is what I always thought was going to hurt Tucker Kraft, not as much, because he has clearly overtaken not just I'm the blocking tight end, but I'm also the tight end you should probably throw to.
Yeah, I'm
right. It was Luke Musgrave's going to be our deer that we're going to, but Tucker Kraft is slowly showing to everybody. He's not even doing it slowly. He's doing it by running very, very fast. You throw me the ball and I'm going to make many, many things happen. If they ran a 40-yard dash, Luke Musgrave's going to win. If they run a 40-yard dash on a football field, Tucker Kraft's going to win.
Yeah, and he's got that.
If that makes sense to anybody.
He just has that special extra like love of football. Like he's obsessed with football, and he just approaches it with such a brio and gusto that you know that like he loves this game and he's going to work to get better at it, and he's going to play like a maniac. I don't want to forget about Musgrave either, because I still think he has great potential in this offense. But Tucker's doing his thing right now.
And the big old handsome Ben Sims. I mean, he's a nice little blocking inline guy.
I love Ben. And Ben's doing his thing. It's a role and he's playing it. So no doubt about it. But man, he's emerging in that spot, no doubt about it. And it's fun to get guys like that. Even Edgerrin Cooper, you can see certain guys. It's fun when young guys start to emerge in their role, and you can talk about them positively and not just say, I wish this guy did more of this, or I wish Quay was this, or Devontae was, I'm not saying.
Were you listening to Packers OT last night talking about Quay Walker?
I'm not singling out Quay. I'm just saying, for instance, some people might say that.
My co-host on Packers
About
OT, Drew
Rashawn.
Olson, not a fan of Quay Walker. Now, Quay Walker not getting nearly as much drag as Rashawn Gary
Rashawn.
was getting. He was the one that everybody on the talking text line wanted to talk about lack of production, John. And I mean, it is getting difficult to continue to say, well, we're waiting on it. We're waiting on it for Rashawn Gary because you keep seeing 55 Kingsley Enagbare making plays yesterday. That punch out to lead to Xavier McKinney's fumble recovery is an elite play. In 52 wasn't really even around Matthew Stafford a whole lot yesterday in the game.
Yeah, it's a tricky proposition right now because, hey, he got his contract. He earned that money. The Packers paid him. But it doesn't matter how much you get paid. If you're not producing, we need to put somebody else in. This isn't the league of, hey, we got to play the guys that get paid a lot. I mean, to a certain extent, you're going to have a longer leash because you did earn that money and they do have those expectations in you. But if you're not, and I've said this for years as we talk about pressures, if you're not getting set, pressures are fine if they force a bad throw. A pressure is fine if it forces the quarterback into an interception. Pressures are not good if it's just a stat that's a number where the quarterback throws the ball and completes it right before you get to him. Like that pressure means nothing to me. I need impactful plays. I need hands up pressure where he throws it too high and forces an interception. I need a sack. And that's where Rashawn Gary has been missing. He's been missing on those impactful plays. And we have gotten them from other places on the team. Carl Brooks, Dontavian,
sack and a half yesterday. Carl Brooks.
Yeah, Carl Brooks, Devontae Wyatt before he was injured. Edgerrin Cooper, we're seeing get shot out of a cannon week in and week out. When he gets the pressure, he doesn't get the pressure a lot. He only gets to do it out of the speed package. Quay Walker, every now and then, when they walk him up on the line of on the line of scrimmage, and everybody, Quay Walker, they're finding ways to use these guys. Not every guy has to be, Patrick Willis.
But thank you, John. Thank you.
And they're not going to be. Not every wide receiver needs to be Devontae Adams. They're not going to be. But look back at our 2010 season, right? Look back at that team that won a Super Bowl.
Don't say that name.
No, I'm just going to say we had some great playmakers, but we also had positions that didn't necessarily have, generational impactful guys that you want every position to be. Every time you look at, a running back, they're not Eddie Lacy or they're not, Aaron Jones. Well, yeah, I know. Okay, we have Brandon Jackson, James Starks, and myself back there. Like, okay, that's what we were rolling with. So you got to make that type of team and that type of game plan for that group of guys. But we did have a Nick Collins and we did have a Clay Matthews, right? So we did have a Greg Jennings. Yeah. We did have an Aaron Rodgers. Jermichael Finley didn't even finish that year.
He didn't play that game. No.
Ryan Grant played 3 or 4 games. And John, at the end of the day, you need somebody to get guys onto the ground. I'll go into the Quay Walker run here real quick.
All right, here we go.
Because just jump in. You say 2010. Everybody talks about AJ Hawk like he's one of the most disappointing Green Bay Packers of all time. There's a reason he's the leading tackler all time. Somebody's got to get guys on the ground. And Quay Walker, somebody's got to get guys on the ground, whether it's 2 yards in front of the line of scrimmage or 5 yards after. You got to get guys onto the ground. Is he, you mentioned Patrick Willis, Ray Lewis. Is he a Hall of Fame guy? No. Are there a lot worse linebacker plays in football? Yeah. And I think right now you're seeing a defense, John, that people are so hyper-focused on, well, we got to be able to get this ROI. We got to be able to get this return on investment. He's a first-round pick. He's got to be awesome. Evan Williams is a 4th-round pick, and he's good. So it doesn't add up. You need 11. And wherever the positional value is going to go to, I understand the frustration with Rashawn Gary. I don't really get it with Quay Walker. Is he playing all pro level football? No. Is he a good football player for him right now? I think so. And like that angst and frustration is wild with a couple of the former 1st-round picks for this Packers defense.
Yeah. When you play the linebacker position, the thing I don't want to see is missed tackles. Now you're going to have more tackle attempts than anybody else. So you will have some missed tackles, but I don't want to see, I don't want you to have a missed tackle more than you have a tackle. Right. And I don't have that with Quay Walker. And then how do you separate yourself and make yourself one of those guys where I'm like, damn, you're a dog. Well, then you start making those tackles for losses and not tackles.
You get Kyron Williams on that ridiculous jump cut that he has when you're blitzing across the line.
Yeah. So you might not be Patrick Willis, but you're also not a guy who's missing 1 million tackles a game. And that's okay, because you can win with the defensive guys that know their roles. And you obviously want everybody to be the best player in the NFL at their position. That's just unrealistic.
It is.
It's just not going to happen.
But I will say this, and this is the reality of it. Expectation changes based on where you're drafted, and for some people, where you're drafted and how much money you make. And the fact of the matter is, a guy like Rashawn Gary,
and that's fine. But I'm just going to tell people, if you expect football to play itself out based off of what you pay for something, it doesn't work that way.
I know, but draft capital is so important that you have to get great players in the first round.
But at what point does it not?
People find that to be a failure if you don't get that great player. I'm not saying it's fair.
At what point are you just an NFL player and not a first-round pick?
Right, but are great teams made if your first-rounders are just average or good NFL players, but not great players?
Can we also say this? Can we also say this?
Great players at other
Can
places.
we also say this, Armin? No, first-round picks are not created equal.
That's a good
top
point.
10 picks, and last 10 picks.
Quay was
completely different.
Yep.
You might as well call it round 1A and 1B.
Yep, that's true. That's very true. I mean, Rashawn was a higher pick. Van Ness was a much higher pick than Quay or Devontae were. So that's another good point. I think that I'm just saying that's how people are going to look at it, and people will judge you relative in your career based on where you're drafted. We've talked about this in the past, John. It's just the reality of it, because how people perceive value and commodity value.
Yeah, but I mean, but
go ahead, John.
But my thing is this, Billy. My thing is this. There are two different conversations. To say if a guy played up to the draft pick that you used on him or the money that you spent on him in free agency, that's one conversation. To say he's not a good football player is a different conversation. You expect, like you said, you're expecting first-round picks to be perennial Pro Bowlers and all pros. You're expecting You're expecting second-round picks to be on that cusp. You're expecting third-round picks to be starters. You're expecting fourth-round picks to be starters/role players. Fifth-round picks to be role players, and so on and so forth. That's the expectations with those picks. But just because a first-rounder is just a solid starter doesn't mean he's a bust.
No, sure. Because I never thought AJ Hawk was a bust, but some people
doesn't mean he shouldn't be playing in the games, and it doesn't mean he's not your best option for the position.
I agree with that. Obviously, he should be playing, and he is the best option. That's why I never saw AJ Hawk as negatively. I always thought he was a positive force on the team, but because he was 5th overall and was a monster in college and flying around, people were hoping. But then again, you have to be fair about it and say, well, you got Bakhtiaris in the world in the 4th rounder that are Hall of Famers. So you have to look at the value proposition both ways and say you might not have gotten a Hall of Famer in the 1st round, but you're getting him later. So it's all
those are all well and good. And John, I think, is exactly right on the classification as to where you hope the guy ends up being. I'll give you a really open shut case as to if a pick works. Does he get a second contract?
It's a good point.
Right? Does he get a second contract? That means that he's good enough that you want to invest in him again with your team. I'm giving Quay Walker a second contract, right? Is it going to be top of the market money? No. However, I think that he can be a good starter for you. And that depends also on how you start supplementing it. And now many people are wondering if indeed you see more Edgerrin Cooper 30 snaps yesterday, John. I think they're different guys. I think they're a little bit different players. The other one in here is, man, Isaiah McDuffie is not getting played off the football field. 58's going to stay on the field because he's kind of the one orchestrating the defense. And people are always thinking the shiny toy is potentially going to be better.
Yeah, I really like Quay. I like a lot of what he brings. I don't know if he's going to get a second contract in Green Bay because I see Edgerrin Cooper, and I feel like he is about to explode at the linebacker position. I feel like he's absolutely going to explode. You factor in Isaiah McDuffie and what he's able to do, and what is Tyron Hopper going to develop into, right? Those all play a factor. And sometimes you don't give a guy a second contract, not because you don't want to give a guy a second contract, but because you have so many other options at that same position. And that could potentially be the case with Quay Walker. But he will get a second contract for the team, and he will play, through a second contract. I mean, Quay Walker is going to play himself a solid 8-10 years in this league.
Right.
He's a very solid player. He might not be your favorite player to watch. He might not be. But as I say, gosh dang it, why is his name? Burks.
Oren Burks.
Oren Burks. People don't realize Oren Burks is on his third team in his 8th year. I didn't like him either.
Yeah.
Just because you don't like him doesn't mean they're not good players.
I'm not saying he's not good or won't play. I mean, even Nick Perry got a second contract. Like
not even second contract. Nick Perry got top of the market money in his second contract.
and it didn't last long for
He
him.
also came off a massive year.
But he was out of league in 2 years.
When you say even,
okay. Was that a stray? I didn't mean to. My point was,
I wouldn't even call that a stray. That was a direct shot.
Nick
Hey,
had a
Nick
couple
Perry,
good-
walk over here and turn around.
well, Nick had a couple
Go
good
smell
years.
those red
you're like,
flowers.
Nick
but it
Perry, I
was-
got the laser scope on you.
Well, and not everyone. Some
Smell
people.
those flowers.
Sometimes a career trajectory is you can
Well,
be quality
let's be
baseline.
serious
For,
real
he was
quick,
like
though. I think Nick Perry had 10 sacks.
he had 11 sacks. He had 11 sacks.
11 sacks.
Got his
top
deal.
of the market.
And that was
Is Rashawn Gary Nick Perry?
Well, that's a good question
He
because
had,
that's
he
a
had,
contract.
he had 9.5 sacks. Got top of the market.
Oh, wow.
No, he's better than Nick, isn't he? Because he's more consistent, I think. No,
Was that me throwing? I'm not shooting strays. I'm asking, is this a comparable comparison?
No, it's a really good question.
and
That
that
was my reaction, John. I think it's a fair question, and I'll let you collect your thoughts here and then figure it out. I think it's a very fair question because of the time and place of the contract. Seemed like a year too early. Remember when Nick Perry ends up getting that contract? It wasn't coming off a year in which he gets 11 sacks. It was his first year really starting and playing a majority of the games.
Not just that, but he was the only player playing defense that year. That was 2016 that he had 11
Right.
sacks. If you get 11 sacks on that defense, you look like you had 30.
right. And it was and you talked about necessity. Sometimes you had necessities as a team. There was a necessity.
That was Ladarius Gunter out trying to cover Julio Jones.
See, LD always has to get a stray somewhere. Always,
Well, God bless him
Yeah,
at
he
36,
tried.
but I mean, like that was one of the toughest
So,
scenes around.
Nick
That
Perry
2016 defense is one of the toughest that we ever watched.
at the time, giving Nick Perry money was the best option the Packers had. Now I think Rashawn's better than him because I think he's more
God,
consistent.
The only option they had.
That's right. That's kind of what I mean. If you look at the,
I wouldn't be signing many people on that one.
Rashawn he's going to have run into some games when he's going to figure it out and get 3 sacks a game. That's what he does. all
Okay,
right?
well
I'm not
that's
giving up on him.
awesome. Now he's had a couple of those in his career,
Can I say
but
something
Dan, you
real
need
quick?
more of that consecutively. Absolutely.
Armin, you're going to say he's going to run into 3 sacks a game at some point in time? We just faced the 3 worst pass protecting teams in a row, back to back to back. The 3
All
worst.
right, well, that's
The
not a good
3
sign.
worst.
Yeah.
The 3 worst. We faced the Tennessee Titans. Now, granted, we had 8 sacks as a team, so Rashawn just got beat to the
He
finish
just
line.
barely missed a couple times.
He
yes.
just got beat to the finish line there. The Minnesota Vikings, who are like 29th in protecting their quarterback, and then Matthew Stafford, who has been hit, quarterback hits 31 times going into yesterday's game. He was hit 31 times going into the game. He should have shown up.
Yeah.
in one of those
Well,
games.
and that's my thing. And we've talked about this. It's not necessarily a number of sacks for me, but it's like, do I see you pressuring all game and getting in there and disrupting? And he wasn't. Yes, he just wasn't. You didn't even sometimes remember he was on the field, unfortunately. So, but like that's got to get better.
Did you guys
That's
watch
got to get
last night's
figured
game?
out.
Did you guys watch last night's game?
The Cowboys Steelers.
I was able to stay up for most of it.
Some of
I
it.
missed
So I-
the last portion.
So I saw a thing online, obviously people were, trying to figure out what's going on with Rashawn. And then you got the people doing the snapshots of what looks like he's getting held because there's an arm kind of around his chest. Watch TJ Watt take on that exact same type of block. And the way he chops that arm up and down and the way he rips through, the way he takes on a double team, it's a little bit different.
Mhm.
I'm not expecting Rashawn Gary to be like TJ Watt, but it's also not, there's different levels to this.
Well,
There is.
why can't Rashawn develop counter moves? It seems like that's an issue for him. I know he's being coached to do it. Obviously, he's working. I'm sure he's getting trained on it. It seems like the counter
Listen,
move is where he's
I think
missing.
I think he has all the strength. I think he has all the speed of TJ Watt, but some players, they just have a knack,
Mhm.
right?
Technique.
Why
yeah.
why are some people, really great at wrestling when others aren't? Like they just have the knack for the feel of how to move their body and turn their hips. And why are some basketball players just naturally so gifted at finding rebounds just because they have that knack for being
Mhm.
able to read a ball in the air and place their hip on the defender so that they can, box them out? Why are some players really good at running the football between the tackles? Because they just have the feel of how to get those extra couple yards. It's a feel thing. And Rashawn is athletic and as gifted as he is. that last little feel component to the game that the guys like TJ Watt have, like Myles Garrett have, like
Max Crosby.
Micah Parsons and
Yep.
Max Crosby have. He doesn't have it to that level. Obviously, he is a supremely talented edge rusher, one of the best in the world. He's just not at the top of the best in the world.
Well, and when you're getting paid, I mentioned Max Crosby. It's a former 4th round pick, and a guy that's 1 year older than Rashawn Gary. John, Matt in Milwaukee now is somewhat hyperbolic on the NicoletLaw.com talking text and say, can we trade Rashawn Gary and a first for Max Crosby? The fact that you're trying to, you feel like you would have to throw in a draft pick and a 1st round draft pick at that, and still a tough decision for the Las Vegas Raiders, if indeed they're going with it, shows where it's at right now. Like, the production needs to change. And it's also difficult when JJ Enagbare is making the plays like he is. I mean, what a saving grace that is.
And that's the thing too. It's like, okay, so let's just find a rotation with the guys we have. Rashawn potentially, it is not going to be as productive as we thought he would transition into. But that's okay, because we have other guys. If we rotate them properly, we can still get production out of the group. It's all about the group. It's about the team, not necessarily about Rashawn getting 10, 12, 14 sacks.
And also, people are saying that maybe Rashawn Gary is keeping Lucas Van Ness's name out of the conversation because he has been there. Listen, it also changes when JJ Enagbare is making the plays that he is. And the Packers are luckily on that defensive front having Enagbare after we were worried that he was not going to be able to play this year with that torn ACL that was thought to be suffered in the Dallas playoff game. Instead, he's been out here and right now has been their best guy so far. 414-799-1973. More on that. NicoletLaw.com talking text line. Let's go around the NFL. We had the Cleveland Browns say we're not benching Deshaun Watson. We had Sean Payton and Bo Nix screaming at each other in a multiple score win. What the hell's wrong with the New York Jets? And fines up the wazoo in the National Football League. All of it coming up. It's 9 to noon with Coon, Billy, and Armin on the game.
John Coon here for Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. And if you could customize anything in this world, I already know what your checklist would be. Rashawn Gary to get sacks, Matt LaFleur to run the football, and Dontavian Wicks to catch every single thing. But you don't always get what you want to customize, but you did get a Packers win yesterday. But if you could, maybe you'd go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, where everything is customizable. The durability of materials gets tested, and they open and close these doors, these latches, these shades thousands and thousands of times to ensure they last the test of time so you don't have to. They also offer unique offerings like fold-away hardware, custom colors, and ease of maintenance, because nobody has time to worry about things like that. And Pella Windows and Doors also include innovative features like shades between the glass, innovative rolled screens, and noise reduction. And right now, they got a deal for you as well. Listen up, 0% interest for 36 months. I said it, 3 years, 0% interest, but you have to hurry. That deal ends at the end of the month, October 31st to be exact. So jump on it now. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. And please let Gina Della know it was me, John Coon, who sent you in there. Visit PellaWI.com today.
That is the great
Uh-oh.
Tyler Smith. One of the best quotes that you're going to get from the former Golden Hurricane at Tulsa, now offensive guard for the Dallas Cowboys last night, talking about Jalen Tolbert's final touchdown with 20 seconds to go on Sunday Night Football.
First of all,
That's a heck of a quote.
Can I
go ahead, John. I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
I got so many questions.
So many questions.
Number one, what is the infatuation with guns in football right now?
The more.
What do you mean, emptying the clip?
That's a fine. If we're doing the fine for all the other ones, that should be a fine. You can't make the reference.
Emptying the clip. I mean, I watched a kid in the college game this weekend, full shotgun to the chest like 4 times on a guy. He made a tackle. I mean, I just can't get over like the gun celebrations. How many of these guys do own guns and shoot them in the fashion they shoot them?
I don't know.
That is wild to me. That is wild to me.
I don't know.
Because you can't go to a gun range and just start. You can't just do that.
Yeah, I don't think they do that at Tim Scott's Mission 94, which is the new gun range.
Well, listen,
I don't think they're doing that.
That's number one. Number two, do we not do PR training anymore? You heard him right there.
Spraying
just F-bomb right in the middle.
Well, how do you spray them anyway?
Right in the middle. And then you get. Did you see the interviews with the Vanderbilt quarterback this weekend?
Yes.
And with Miami's quarterback this weekend?
Pavia. Oh, yeah.
Like Cam Ward has himself a Heisman moment and just goes straight rated R.
Well, here's one. Well, I'm still shocked that anyone calls into a radio station and swears. They think they can, you can't do this. Why would you do that? I'm going to dump you.
Because they want to.
It's because they don't think about it, I think, too, Billy.
You are giving way too much credit.
Because everything you watch now.
You don't think they mean to do that.
No, my point is.
Why can we come on here every day and not swear? Why can we come on here every day and not do it?
Traditional media as federal rules against. And when we used to grow up watching traditional media like network television and radio, we just knew you wasn't supposed to.
You think other people don't know you're not supposed to do this?
No one watches TV. That's everything. Now it's all streaming, which anyone can swear. Podcasts or the radio for some people, you can swear.
Do you want to blame ESPN for allowing McAfee to get away with it? Go ahead.
I work with a guy.
Go ahead. But everybody watches that, and you know what? ESPN didn't used to do it. Now ESPN does it all the time. You want to blame ESPN for allowing McAfee to do it? Which
I'm not mad about it. I'm just saying that's why people think that it's not.
No, I am kind of disappointed. Can we do a post-game interview? Can we do a post-game interview without dropping an F-bomb?
Well, there are a bunch of guys that do them that don't swear. We just,
No, because it doesn't go viral.
Well, it just happened. It just happened this week 3 times.
Jaden did one, yeah.
Can I classify a little bit?
Because and I get where you're coming from, John, but that's exactly the part of Armin doesn't want to believe this because he's saying that these guys don't intend to do this. You absolutely intend to, because the only way that your name, image, and likeness, especially when you're talking about the college players, goes up is when your name and the video is circulated around for Diego Pavia.
That's a good point. The
guys that are young in the NFL grew up in it as well. Like, it's a massive part of social media that has allowed that desensitization to cursing.
I'll say this. For Pavia, I actually understand it. That's the only moment in time he's ever going to have in his life to be able to look at me against the world. Like, we did this, and I am going to go all Vanderbilt. We are turned, right?
Turned, baby.
That is something we'll never forget.
That's what God put him on this earth to do.
Is he going to get an NIL because of it? Probably not.
But he's getting a nice little payday already.
Well, I'm sure he's getting NIL, but I'm not sure if he's getting it from specifically saying blank and turn, right? Cam Ward, however, Cam Ward's different. Cam Ward's a Heisman candidate. He's a Heisman candidate. You got to talk with them about how to do these interviews afterwards and make sure. I mean, the Heisman candidate, you're kind of on the campaign trail. You got to sell yourself.
I know. That's why I think it's not a conscious decision. Well, maybe we'll disagree on that, Billy. I think it's just part of the vernacular, and then they slip up and say, "Oh, whoops!" Like, Tyler Smith said, "Whoops, I'm sorry." He knew he wasn't supposed to do it, And then he goes to make the gun reference. I don't know, but I don't know how you sprain him either.
I also don't the unloading the clip. I don't like that is so natural part of conversation. Like I don't even think about it as a gun reference.
It
anymore.
is, but I'm just saying, they're cracking down at least on the field with the gun references so much.
The kid from Minnesota gets a 15-yard penalty for pulling his shirt up.
That's what I'm
saying.
saying.
That's brandishing a weapon.
Right.
Right after
Are his abs the weapon? His abs are the weapon.
My man was ripped up too. Did you see that?
That's what I'm getting at. You got way too much of a six-pack there. That's a weapon. You're flagged 15 yards.
I would like to see then maybe the NFL, that's what their next fine is. Because, I mean, they're fining Matt LaFleur. That was part of the just unload. You want to talk about unloading the clip? NFL conduct department. John Runyon was in his bag on Saturday. Ripped out the amount of fines that you possibly could. Matt LaFleur, $14,069. Nice. For unsportsmanlike conduct last week for leaping around at Toys R Us. I mean, on the 10-yard line, screaming about that penalty flag going through.
That was a third of the cost of the guy that got fined for making a tackle, though. You know what I mean? Well, I forget his name now. That's a third of the cost. I'm just saying, yes, and that was probably a fair fine for LaFleur.
So you're not allowed to lose your cool. You're not at all. You can't lose your cool a little bit. You call timeout 6 times and they don't call timeout. You can't lose.
Well,
you gave them a penalty. They already got the penalty in the game. The fine. Are we teaching people how to act improper here? You gave him the penalty. Matt LaFleur said after the game he shouldn't have done it. I mean, I don't know. I guess
that to me isn't even the more surprising one. Now, they fined Josh Jacobs a couple of weeks ago for lowering the head into a player. They also fined Creed Dr. Khalil Mack on a pass rush for ducking his head. Nico Collins for running out of bounds, lowering his head, use of helmet on a play, 22,000 plus for simply running through a tackle.
Yeah.
Like, and John, the crazy part of these fines are, I expected to be doing this week 5 about the hip drop fines. Anyone seen one?
Sure. Something like that. Yeah.
Has anyone seen a hip drop tackle flagged or fined in the NFL? No, apparently it's just offensive players trying to break a tackle is what you get fined for in the NFL. A very, very interesting enforcement of the player safety violations for the NFL. And more importantly, safety for the children. Because, hey, guys, there's children watching, okay? That's why we can't be brandishing these weapons.
Phil and Madison, I didn't know sports were equal to church. And Mark and Eagle didn't. The penalty for gun celebrations is the stupidest thing ever. It shows how dumb we are as a society. Nobody thinks that a player is actually encouraging gun violence. That's not the damn point. The point is the league says, and I don't care what the celebration, but if the league says you can't do a gun celebration, why are you finding new ways to just do a gun celebration? Just don't do the celebration.
I agree with you too. If you don't want to get fined and penalized, just don't do it. You don't have to do it. I'm sorry, you don't have to.
I think it's
wrong. That's different.
The problem. Okay, so let's really break this down sociologically for who was that, Ian or Mark, whoever that was. Let's break this down sociologically. This whole thing started because players were pointing fake finger guns at other players and pulling the trigger. That's how it started. And then it was like, okay, well, anytime they have a weapon or a gun, then we gotta pull it. I mean, you got to think about the starting point where this whole thing started.
Can you imagine if Usain Bolt got fined for the bow and arrow, and Wesley Matthews got fined for the bow and arrow?
I was going to say Drew Holiday,
right?
No, but it was the other week.
Teammate of the year, not going to be anymore if you keep getting some fines for those.
Man of the year and all that.
It was the other week when Drake London fired that thing off in the air,
right?
And his coach said it was the T-shirt cannon.
Yeah.
That got. I love
shooting
that.
T-shirts to the kids.
How do you know it's not a T-shirt?
That's great.
Yeah. How do you know he wasn't? Maybe it was the brat cannon that they have at Bucks games. He was just trying to shoot some sausages out of people.
Unnamed in the 608. You guys ever listen to Zabe show? He swears like 7 times a show.
Yeah, he said Steve Saban. I don't know who Steve Saban is. Now, if Nick Saban and Steve Saban had a love child, that would be a wild podcast to listen to. NickLayLaw.com talking text line is a beautiful place. You can interact 414-799-1973. We'll continue coming up. We got our investment hour in about 15 minutes from right now. That's Armin Sarian losing his stuff.
Hilarious.
I'm Billy Schmidt. John Coons right there. It's 9 to noon on the Game. Inside the Iron Jock Studios, it's 9 to noon with Kuhn, Billy, and Armin on the game on a Victory Chicken Monday. Still deciding on the Victory Chicken exactly what we're going to go with here on the Victory Chicken, but it's going to have to happen here very, very soon. Let's talk Iron Jock hoodies. All new purpose joggers as well now through October 13th. When you purchase men's or women's hoodie and joggers, use promo code FALL30. Receive 30% off every hoodie and jogger in your cart. And you'll also get a free Iron Jock travel towel simply for using FALL30 at the promo code at checkout. Go to ironjock.com for more details. That's ironjoc.com, and it will become hoodie weather. It's going to be sweater weather coming up because very quickly it starts slapping you in the face that fall is here. And fall is here because it's week 5 of the NFL, and there was a ton around the league to discuss. Baltimore gets back after being down twice by 10 points in the fourth quarter in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow throws 5 TDs and loses, says they're not a championship program. The Bills and Texans finish was hilarious. And it all started, John, with the first 3 interception games since I believe 2015 against the Carolina Panthers for one Aaron Rodgers yesterday, as the Vikings go to 5-0, the Jets to 2-3. He throws a pick 6 to Van Ginkel in there as well. And as many Packer fans that would be cheering for Aaron Rodgers, I had a hell of a moment on Sunday when I was driving to Potawatomi Sportsbook to hang out with Doug Russell during Packers game day. I was needing the Vikings to stop Aaron Rodgers for an investment. I mean, like, that is a moment where sports gambling throws everything into a tizzy. But yesterday, hard to back that Jets team because it looks very, very bleak there for the Gang Green.
Yeah, I haven't taken a look at their schedule, but I know they have a big time game coming up against the Bills, I think, coming up this next week. And they're in a lot of trouble because that offense and Nathaniel Hackett, something about this offense just does not look right, does not feel right. It looks stale. It has all the feels of when the Green Bay Packers offense would struggle at times. Aaron's last year, it just looks like it's too much of get to the line of scrimmage, win your one-on-one. There's no motion, no variation. And quite frankly, it could potentially be the fact of Aaron's relationship with Nathaniel Hackett is holding him back. The fact that he likes the man so much. And I like Hackett too. Hilarious guy, funny, does no ball. But this style of offense, it's somewhat archaic. Nobody is running this style of offense anymore unless you have a very young, limited rookie QB because you're trying to simplify it for me. It's probably the easiest offense you could prepare, not defend, because they still have some weapons, but prepare to defend against. And it's putting them in a hole. And when you play a team like the Minnesota Vikings who do the opposite defensively, do everything to try and make you think, come up with the answers, be the last ones on the dry erase board, yeah, it becomes a mismatch.
Yeah, and they were down big early. They're down 17-0 at one point. Rodgers throws it 54 times, finally hits Garrett Wilson a number of times for 100 yards, but had to throw it to him 22 times.
22 times, 101 yards. That's on 22 targets, that amount of yards. That's the lowest of any receiver targeted that much in NFL history. The next lowest, Devontae Adams, when he was with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers was throwing him the ball. Even though you can get production in that offense, that's how statistics can lie to you, Armin, right? Even though you can get the catches, you can get the yards, it's not efficiency, and it's not a way that production works. And like we said about the Packers, when are you throwing these balls? When are you targeting? If you have a target on first down and you don't get a catch and you're 2nd and 10, you have massively hamstrung your team of being able to get that first down of that drive. It's a tough situation to be in. But nothing bears criticism the way that the Bills had the ball with 30 seconds left inside their own 10-yard line, proceeded to throw 3 passes, punt it back to the Texans, and allow them to win the game in the last 30 seconds. That was game management malfeasance right there.
Well, I had to come back and to get in that game. That was the other thing.
Yeah, but more importantly, you got to get that thing to overtime. Like you fought that much to get the thing into a tie position. You got to get it to overtime. And McDermott talked about it after and put it on him. Then again, hey man, they are calling the plays that at some point you're endorsing to try and get yourself into field goal range and try to throw the ball. I also thought, I mean, you look at the Bengals, that Ravens team is a couple of blinks away from being undefeated. They blow a double-digit lead at home in the fourth quarter to a Raiders team that's as lowly as you could possibly have, and took the Chiefs, who a lot of people think are the best team in football, to the brink. And then they come back from 10 down. Like, they might be the most fascinating team in ball right now because they are Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde every week. But seems like when they need the most, John, I want Lamar Jackson with the football in his hand because he's going to make something happen. And Derrick Henry's nice to have in that little back pocket too.
You know, I'm glad you say that they're a blink away from being undefeated. The Packers are a blink away from being undefeated, and the Packers are a blink away from being 1-4. The 49ers, they're a blink away from being 4-1, and yet they're 2-3 with two double-digit losses in the fourth quarter. They had double-digit leads in the fourth quarters against the Rams and against the Cardinals, and they lost both those games.
Mm-hmm.
These games, they're so, the margins are so thin, and it's so hard to really project what that team is going to eventually be. I think the 49ers are still going to be the team to beat in the West. They got so many injuries, and they're dug in a hole right now because of some of these games that they have lost early on in this season.
3 conference losses going to be good come playoff time, right? Like, you start stacking up some of those conference losses, the divisional ones as well. That's going to help for a lot of teams in the NFC not wanting to go to Santa Clara and maybe getting the 49ers on their turf as well. You come to our turf when you want to invest with You Better You Bet. That comes up next. Caller number 3. Packers have 3 wins, 3-2, 24-19 victory yesterday. Caller 3 into week 6 in the NFL. We'll already flip it to the, geez Louise, the third poll. The 1/3 mark of the NFL season is week 6. That's what we're going into, and You Better You Bet into hour 3 next on the game. Football is back. It is in full swing. It's the greatest time of year. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last season. Making picks on Underdog, you got to join them. It is the best way to invest and enjoy football on the weekends. Win up to 1,000 times your money by simply choosing higher or lower on your favorite player stats this fall, like touchdowns, passing yards, receptions, receiving yards, rushing and receiving yards. You customize your own experience because there's so many stats to be able to pick from on the Underdog Fantasy app. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code Billy, B-I-L-L-Y, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Billy, to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. All right, that's it. Callers, you're done. You're done. You better you bet. Caller number 3. Bueller.
Wait,
Texters now.
we don't have a caller yet?
No, we don't have a caller now.
All right, fine. We'll take a text.
I think we
Texters.
take a text. 414-799-1973, John.
Let's do it.
Callers lost their right there. You get one chance. Don't
You
mess
know,
it
we
up.
have nooners asking us all the time, when are you going to do the texters a solid? When are you going to do the streamers a solid?
Right
well,
now.
we do you a solid every week. Armin, by the way, who won the closest to the score? A lot of people are going to have that
Yeah.
score very close.
I'm still going through the numbers, but I'm going to have a winner
Still or
in
just
good
starting?
time.
A lot of
Yeah,
us had
yeah.
a lot of us had 27. A lot of us had 27-17.
That
A lot of
was
us
my
had
guess.
24-14.
Mhm.
This thing's going to be really, really close. Who's the leader in the clubhouse right now? Who you got?
Gonna have there's a bevy of
A lot of
27-17.
them, yeah.
So
Oh,
we're gonna-
there's so how who's tied at 27-17?
well, I don't have it off the top of my head. I'm looking for something
You
closer.
don't have one name of
And like
one
I
person
said-
that's in that bevy of names.
About
like I
what?
said, when it's time to do the winner, we'll have a winner. And then if you
Don't
think
make
so
me
will we
start
have a winner
talking
tomorrow?
talk.
No,
Don't make
I-
me start talking about ballots again.
I-
That got me in trouble the last
You
time.
know
Yeah,
what?
we can't have any hanging chads out here.
We had a nooner pissed off about that.
Oh,
I
really?
still apologize. I still
Was he
apologize
saying you
to-
were getting a little toxic with some in an election season?
Yeah, and it was
Oh,
just
my
sarcasm.
goodness.
So I apologize.
You
Yeah.
can't joke around
God,
around here.
God forbid
I
you
hope it
joke
was-
about something
I
happening
hope
in
it
the
was
country.
taken- Well, I wasn't even joking about the country. I was joking about Armin. Armin losing the ballots.
Yes, that's
the
that's
ballot
the
box.
point.
That's
It
what
wasn't
Without
election
it, and it's
season does.
Armin losing the ballots
Yeah.
at the ballot box.
It
Not-
wasn't
not-
even political. It
yeah,
wasn't
it
like
was
you.
about you.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
know.
one of the Nooner's favorite things is to make jokes towards Armin and about Armin. That just shows how toxic election season can be, that we can't even enjoy our favorite
So with
pastime.
that said, have you found one name? I see you looking. You're looking for one name.
has
so
no
you can
clue.
bet-
no. While he does that, John,
What was tricky was there was one that was close, but we had the Rams winning, so it's actually not close. So I gotta go go through everything again. It's a process that I'm ready to accept and trust and dive into. I didn't complain
Seems
about
like
it this week. I didn't
Yeah.
complain about it.
that's true. This week you
Have
didn't
you heard me
complain about
complain
it.
This
about
is the first week he has not complained.
Right.
It is the first week.
Out
yeah.
of all the weeks,
Thank you.
this
So
is the
I
first.
just-
It took 5 weeks for him not to complain about
But
something.
that doesn't mean I'm done with it yet. You know,
And I think we were
Oh yeah, he'll complain by the end of the week.
trust the
Okay.
process.
He'll complain by the time he needs to have this name, he's going to start complaining because
we're
Armin,
going to need
remember
it
that-
tomorrow.
It's not
Tomorrow.
just that you need it because you got to have that pick by Wednesday.
Indeed. I know
And you got to
that.
give
Yeah,
people
that's
ample
2
opportunity
days.
to get their
So-
text picks in.
So it is Monday, and that's 2 days away. So I'll have it by Wednesday, right?
But we'll need to know the winner probably tomorrow.
So that's tomorrow. That's 24 hours from now. So yeah, we'll get
Mailman
that.
Jeff
Let me
said
check
he
your
was
math on
3
that.
total points off.
Well, my thing was the
Yeah,
other thing
24
was
hours.
if you can verify you have one that you believe is closer, I can verify, and then we'll take that as well. So that's the other part.
So
of
you're
that
making the
process.
Nooners do their work as well.
No, I'm asking for
You're
them
just
for,
correcting the papers.
I'm
Work
asking
smarter,
for-
not harder.
I'm asking for some help. And yes, I was crowdsourcing a bit, but I do identify ones that I think are closest to be winners. And if you can get one closer, then you
Did you
think
take
have
our
it.
advice and take the screen picture, like the picture of the amount of the submissions, or no?
So I was gonna do pictures,
That's a no.
but I didn't. But that was a good idea.
That's a no.
I did have another idea in my head.
Oh, okay.
Where I'm searching for. I'm doing a text search now for scores. That's another idea, which I like, but it's still not a foolproof
Look at
plan.
you figuring out how to use this text
We're
line
letting-
better than anybody.
Well, it's actually not working
because
that
it
well.
is the
And
beta
this-
It
version.
didn't- it didn't
This
work.
is the beta version of a beta
didn't work.
text line. This thing is so janky, but it's our janky. It's like when you have a car that you need to pour some gasoline
Yeah.
down the air filter first just to get it started.
Oh, yeah.
Just to get it
It's our
rolling.
baby, so we're gonna do it.
It's my.
It's how we know how to start this thing.
It's-
So
You
we're
just
gonna do it.
described
But it
Lenny's Corolla that's sitting in the parking lot here for the last 3 days.
it is not
What
efficient
is
by
that?
any means, but we will do it because it's the only way
Well,
we know how.
So the bottom line is, it looks like Dawson from New Berlin's probably the winner, but I want to make.
Oh, okay.
I don't want
Let's
to
cross check
You're
that.
finally gonna
Well, I
have
don't want
the
to.
courage to say a name. So
Well,
thank you.
I don't like announcing a name until it's verified because you know how that goes. You know,
You
get,
said
like,
I won.
Dawson, you told me I won, and then it becomes a problem.
So what did Dawson pick?
24-17? He's a hell of a lot closer than anybody else that I've seen. 2
That's
points.
close. Now,
So-
Andy Herman did. I mean, now he was quick to let everybody know also on Twitter that he correctly projected 24-19,
Yeah.
and the Rams were going to miss a 2-point conversion for it.
He
Yeah,
predicted all that.
We all do that once a year. We all pick the exact same score once a year. Andy Herman's been picking games just like the rest of us for 35 years. You're going to get one right.
That's pretty awesome, though.
Literally.
when
It does feel good when you get one.
Yeah,
like,
it
I don't
does.
blame him for going out there and reminding the world, hey, if you listen to my podcast, I'm
Right
not going to go back and listen just because you say it, Andy. But if I did listen, the fact that you predicted it, that's incredible. That's really
amazing,
cool.
dude.
And I know what that feeling is like. And you want people to know, damn it, I would have won the Powerball this time.
Right.
Damn
It's
it, I
like,
got to remember what I picked.
you
more.
gotta pimp it, because like if you actually predict the Derby horse right one time, you gotta let everyone know that you knew what it's just that whole thing. Like I said 27-17, and I'm like, all right, that's kind of close. And my dad the whole game kept texting me. He's like, your prediction's getting close. We needed one more field goal. We need them to take away. I'm like, I appreciate you trying to get my prediction correct, totally, but you
I
just
need
try
to
and
write
get
this
around.
stuff down.
I just remembered
My
it from-
memory is you guys remembering these things right off the head. I can barely even remember what I had for breakfast yesterday. I didn't actually eat breakfast
I
yesterday.
actually
Now
can't
thinking
remember
about
it.
it.
Yeah.
No, Quick Trip, Long John. Why would you not?
See,
Why
when-
would you not go to Quick Trip?
So you remember.
Absolute winner. John, you think Romeo Dobbs went to Quick Trip yesterday? Stocked up on some snacks to be able to enjoy that game? I did wonder that a couple of different times. Suspended conduct detrimental to the team. One game left at home. He's going to have a conversation with Matt LaFleur here today. I wonder how he took that game in yesterday, and how hopefully, even though this is back-to-back seasons where a higher profile player, a starter, gets suspended, this works like Jair Alexander's, and it's something that we talk about as a past situation for Romeo Dobbs here.
Yeah. Now, I mean, as we talk about this thing here, a very young team, very impressionable team, things that happened last year, a suspension last year, some guys that have not been brought back, this year based off of some things that were said in social media or not said about what happened last year. You need to build that culture and that dynamic correctly. The shocking thing about this whole thing, when you asked Billy last week, when you asked Matt Schneiderman on Friday, anything to Romeo Dobbs,
Yeah, what's going on with
missing
this?
practice yesterday for a personal reason. I imagine this to be sadly some sort of tragedy with the family,
Mm-hmm.
his family. I mean, I never saw this in a million years to be something that Romeo has chosen to do himself, right? Some sort of violation or conduct detrimental to the team. That statement does not match the person's character as I know him to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's why this one was so eye-popping and so awakening for me. It's like, holy cow, Matt LaFleur needs to get a hold of it. Like, I don't blame them for suspending him.
Oh, had to.
I don't.
think.
I
Yes.
have.
Yeah, I agree.
Hand raised again. I have no idea what this is for. I mean, I tried to figure it out, and if I knew, I might not tell you. But I do have no idea
Yeah.
what this is for. Like, if somebody told me, hey, keep this, tight to the vest, but this is what it's for. I was not. I had
Mhm.
no clue what Rome could have possibly done.
Well,
But I can tell you right now, I've been on teams where you fought with teammates. I've been on teams where you've had shouting matches with coaches.
Mhm.
I've been on teams where people have disagreed and walked out of rooms and maybe even walked out of buildings for a little bit, or maybe been kicked out of practices. They were not suspended for the game for conduct detrimental. This tells me it has to be something pretty damn serious that Rome did, and the coaches and Brian Gutekunst want to get the attention of the rest of the team and say, this cannot even be considered tolerable.
Yeah, in like the Bill Huber report on late Saturday night that flagged everybody to it, and then all the different NFL reporters were on it as well once the Packers put the statement out. Or was it Friday night that the Bill Huber story came out? Pardon me. Friday night was when Bill Huber's story at SI came out. Saturday was when the Packers made the announcement, sent out the press release, and then everybody had it that he was suspended the one game for, as they did say, conduct detrimental. In the Huber report, it's that he skips the practice, and the frustration is use in the offense, frustration with lack of targets. I mean, he's second on the team in targets. He's coming off a game in which he had 8. 2 of those games you're playing with a backup quarterback. John, that's why like last night I was saying it because we had many people ask us on Packers OT about it. And I just can't think it's targets, right? Like, I mean, to me, it just feels like there has to be something more than he wants the ball more in the red zone. brother, everybody wants the ball more in the red zone. Like that to me doesn't add up. Seeing enough sports over the last 25-ish years.
The toughest part of this is the person that's going to have to answer to all of this is going to be Rome. Matt LaFleur will get questions. He'll knock them away like a goalie. Like he'll just smack those
big
things
blocker
away.
Saves.
Yeah, he does it. Glove side, foot save and a beauty. Like he'll just knock them away. He won't answer them. Goody, he did his thing. He put a little quote out there, a little press release. Bam, he's done.
Yeah, we're not hearing him.
Person that's going to have to answer this is going to be Rome, a guy who doesn't go out of his way to make addresses to the media, but does not shy away from talking to the media because he knows how to eloquently talk about his teammates and himself within that. It just doesn't make sense. So whatever happened is going to have to be answered and explained by Rome. They're going to pick, they're going to pull, they're going to prod. He probably won't say anything, but he might. And at the end of the day, it's one of those things that, unfortunately, for a guy who I consider to be pretty good character, good player, this is going to hang around now. And now people are going to wonder. And this is the truth about Rome. And I've known this ever since he caught that touchdown in Chicago, first game of the year last year. Remember, kind of took his helmet off. And I did a sideline hit about it. Took his helmet off, was emphatic, had a lot of emotion going on. You could tell he runs with a high thermometer, right? His thing is always up here,
always hot
with emotion. That's what drives him. That's what makes him a great player. But it also, you can burst that top. I think he probably had a top burst moment. It led to this, and now he's got to be cool. We had this with Quay Walker with, when you're on the field, when you're between the lines, you can't touch a ref, you can't push a ref. And one time it was maybe by accident. The other time you pushed the guy on the sideline. Now Quay Walker is seen as, some sort of
loose cannon,
uncontrollable beast when he gets out there, right? These things, they don't necessarily go away, and you got to constantly try and rebuild your character and your name from every point on after that.
And he I will say this about Rome. He's very quiet sometimes, We've had him on the show with us. Sometimes he's just not going to talk much about what you can tell he's feeling. It's like a still waters run deep deal. But he doesn't always reveal that part of him and reveal himself like that. So it's really hard to say, because for people that want answers and explanation, I'm not sure how much he will reveal publicly. Privately, he might, you know what I mean? But he's a quiet guy.
I don't think he will. I don't think he should reveal it, to be honest with you. I think you should leave those salacious thoughts to be exactly that, thoughts, and not anything else. I've had so many coaches talk to me over his first 2 years on the team and say he does it exactly the way you want a player to do it. He comes in, he works hard, doesn't say boo. Well, apparently he said boo. I don't know how it started. I don't know why it started. It's such an off character thing that, it's a shame, because I don't necessarily see him as that type of guy.
Well, and you made the statement, John, and this was the way it was kind of asked to me a couple of different times. Is this a long-term issue in Green Bay? Now that it's back-to-back years with a starter being suspended.
That is the question. And that's why you got to rein this thing in. That's why, and you never know. No team has a linear cycle for how these things work, right? Look at the Kansas City Chiefs and all the issues that they've had with their players off the field. You would think at some point in time, some of their players would start getting their stuff together in that regard versus, players doing stuff that's conduct detrimental to a team. You look at other teams and you see players that get pissed all the time and want more footballers, don't play as a team. The Packers, they have a thing now where it popped up last year with Jair, popped up this year with Rome, and those are the ones we found out about. Think about that. You can keep stuff under wraps very well in Green Bay.
Yeah.
There's other issues that we don't find out about, but that's not uncommon for a professional sports team. It's not uncommon to have personalities come out in those types of ways and sometimes be negative when they do come out. What's uncommon is when you do have to suspend a player, your own team has to suspend a player, not a league, but your team, because he did something that's conduct detrimental to the team.
Yeah, very frustrating. And the way that I said it was as frustrating and understandably concerning as it can be. Like you mentioned, we got to get it reined in. I will give credit where credit is due, and I gave the benefit of the doubt. I thought Matt handled it perfectly last year, and everything was A-okay after, right? Like Jair Alexander seems like he learned a lesson from the situation. Allow the man to do it again, but you hit it really right on the head of young team, younger leaders. You can't let this be something that gets seen and said, oh, well, won't show up. Let's see what happens. And then everything will be A-okay. And then maybe they'll throw me the ball to make myself feel better about it coming up later.
Yeah. And, but you do say, okay, another month down the line, we have so many targets. This is understand. And I saw Zabe say something like, completely understand player wants to get the bag, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And he's not the only one, right? At some point in time, Christian Watson is going to be in a pressure cooker because he's going to need to produce. Dontavian Wicks is going to have to start, catch the ball. Jaden Reed is about the only one right now who he can't say anything because he's getting the touches and he's making the most of them, right? You got Tucker Kraft now. He's going to want more targets. Luke Musgrave, he's going to have to try and get into the target situation. Bo Melton, I mean, they have so many players. And with all that being said, Josh Jacobs is like sitting here. He just got his first touchdown. He had to run 50 yards for a 1-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, guys, I'm here when you need me. I'm here when you're ready for it. From the Bill Huber piece, I thought this one was poignant. And then we'll get to the You Better You Bet here. He said, how do you keep from fracturing in that room? Just being there for each other. The answer is real simple. If anybody's ego gets in the way, we know better. That's just not how the game is. You stay poised and you keep up for each other and play ball how we're supposed to. So hopefully that's part of the conversation that Matt LaFleur said yesterday he was going to have. He said, we're going to have a conversation. I would like to be a fly on the wall in that conversation.
The weird thing to me is on a team that, Josh Jacobs has been a captain on a team before. And, Jordan Love's sitting here as the de facto captain because he's the quarterback. I want to know, did anybody try and pull him aside? In a wide receiver room, who's going to pull him aside?
Who's the veteran? Bo Melton?
Nobody. But somebody's got to pull him aside. These things, the best teams are not led by their coaches. They're led by their players. The coaches hold everything together. They have the stability. They have the structure. But the best teams are led by the players. Who's the one leading in this instance?
There's no veterans. I mean.
No, but I mean, that's where somebody on the across the other side of the ball might be. And he might be having a conversation with, I would assume, Kenny Clark, right? Like I would assume if there's one of the mainstays over there, Preston Smith might be somebody that throws the arm over the shoulder and has a conversation.
Let me say something that's absolutely wild and crazy here. Does Ja throw his arm around him and say, hey, this was a situation I was in last year. This is what I had to learn. And you can come back from this too.
Make it be something that happened to you, not something that defines you, was how it was always said. And I had heard it a couple of different times when you have a disciplinary situation. And this one for Romeo Doubs is one that's going to stick for right now. All right. Little on the fly. I don't think we should play You Better You Bet here. I think what we should do is hit a Coons Can't Miss. We'll get a game clinching absolute winner. Come back with You Better You Bet on the other side. Is that okay, Armin?
Let's do it.
Is that okay with you? All right.
The man can't miss. Time now for Coons Can't Miss. Presented by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Bet big. Bet bold.
The daily streak has been broken. We lost over the weekend. Seattle losing to a Malik Neighbors-less Giant team in Seattle.
That was ridiculous.
Is just only part of the story of what the NFL has been this year for big underdogs. And we know it. You don't really want to go that route. You don't want to try and chase that because underdogs are winning outright now, not just covering the spreads. They're winning outright in the NFL. Big underdogs are doing that as well. So we lost the every day. I think we won 6 days in a row, but we still have won 8 weeks straight. So we're going to give you another winner to get started, our 9th week in a row of winners. But first, let me remind you that Potawatomi Casino Hotel Sportsbook is the place to take in any venue, any match, any football game, baseball game that you possibly want to, because it has a 2,000-foot curved LED screen that you can see perfectly from everybody asks, what's the deal with curved? The curved television or a curved screen so cool is you don't have to sit directly down the middle. You still see it absolutely perfect. Why? Because it's curved. That's why I say the word curved. It's a curved screen. Go check out that 2,000-foot curved screen down at Potawatomi Casino Hotel Sportsbook.
Also, one thing to throw in on the curved screen that might be the coolest thing that Potawatomi has. I was down there at the sportsbook yesterday hanging out with Doug Russell, the Love Muscle, and then watching some games in the noon slate. John, the curved screen over on the left side on NFL Sundays, a rolling X feed where you can also then
Oh,
find
yeah.
out of who's inactive,
That's awesome.
who's not going to play, who's a question mark, a couple of updates throughout the game. I found that extremely helpful, and also made a mistake on the kiosk. They printed out one of the little vouchers because I maybe messed up and then I didn't press the screen right.
Yeah,
One
it's
of my
new
places
now.
messed up.
They changed that up.
Walk right up to the teller. She's like, "Oh, let me do that for you. Hold on. You want to reinvest this?" As a matter of fact, I do. Very, very helpful. Go talk to the people there. Game changer at Potawatomi Sportsbook.
Yeah, look at that.
Talk to a
Look at that.
human.
You mess up with the machine, the AI, the Matt Schneidmans of taking your money, your wagers, those little kiosks. Yeah, don't worry about it because you can go down and talk to a teller and they'll fix it. They'll make it better for you. That's what they do. Potawatomi Casino Hotel Sportsbook.
Hey,
All right, what are we doing tonight? What are we doing tonight, Armin? Get back on that horse.
Winning.
Get back on the winning ways.
Winning.
Gotta win. Okay. Do it. All right, winners. Let's go.
Let's go.
And I'm gonna do this one for you. I'm
hurt my
gonna
hand.
do one that's gonna absolutely blow everybody away. Derek Carr with the Saints offense that has lost its last 2 games, did not score a lot of points the last game against the Eagles. Now has to go to Arrowhead and take the Kansas City Chiefs. This is an Arrowhead, right? I'm not making it up. Yes, it is an Arrowhead. Taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Derek Carr is going to out-throw Patrick Mahomes tonight in Arrowhead against that Kansas City Chiefs defense.
I tell
Not
you
a lot of people think this is going to happen, but Derek Carr is going into Arrowhead a few times now, quite a few times, and he knows what it takes to go there and play well. Derek Carr, more passing yards than Patrick Mahomes in tonight's game. That's my can't miss. Lock it up.
That's
How about that? I kind of
sign
Plus 125.
That's
plus
sneaky. You
125.
get
It's
plus
the underdog
money.
here.
And it's sneaky because it's Mahomes' reputation, but he hasn't been getting those big numbers. And Carr, I kind of like this.
And
All of his weapons are down. Patrick Mahomes, if he leads the game in passing tonight, if he beats Derek Carr in passing, it's because he threw about 5 screen passes that went for 40 yards. That's how it's going to happen.
And the battle for where does Devontae Adams want to go play football now? Does he want to go and play with his boy Derek Carr? Does he want to go to the Kansas City Chiefs? Does he want to go play for the Buffalo Bills? Whoo, Buffalo Bills. What a little side eye from Stephon Diggs yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
To Josh Allen. Oh, my goodness. Also, George Pickens, if you didn't notice his because the writing on the eye black strip is back, John. We love that in pro sports, right? The writing on the eye black strip. Just like the wording for George Pickens, just the order of it. Might want to move that around. But he said, open, bleeping, always. I think it's always bleeping open. But, hey, that to each his own.
Yeah, I wonder,
Open,
how do you
bleeping
write?
always.
Do you have somebody else write that on there for you? And then who has the time before a game to write on somebody else's face? Like that's what I. So if I ever had a teammate walk up to me and say, "Can you write always open bleeping on my face?" I'd be like, "No. First of all, it's stupid. You're saying it the wrong way. Second of all, no, I'm not wasting my time. I got to tie my shoes, got to get taped, and I got to stretch. So find somebody that's not playing today."
Well, and also,
no, Brett Swain, I'm not going to write that on your face.
Crabtree's trying to get that. Also, I don't know that I want to be that intimate with one of my teammates just before the game. I don't know that I want to be that close to your mouth and your eyes right before a game, but who knows? Or you put it on backwards. Wait a second. Oh, it'll flip around once the camera's on it. It'll be okay. That's how that's going to work.
Can you imagine Jordy asking that? Like a football player, is it getting weird these days? I don't know. Football players or just receivers have always been weird, I guess. I don't know.
Defensive
Divas.
backs would also say, hold my beer. They'll be in that conversation as well. Mark Murphy with an elite response to somebody in the Murphy Take 5 that I got to read here.
Oh, boy.
On the other side, we got a couple more games in the NFL to touch on, a couple more parts of a 24-19 victory to enjoy on a Victory Chicken Monday. It's John Kuhn, it's Armin Sarian, it's Billy Schmidt, and a texter version of You Better You Bet on the other side. Stay with us on the game. That's a big issue, baby. I just
Just
want
be
to
a
do one
banger.
thing. Woo! Man, you're trying to bring high school homecomings
Kiss me
back
through
up with
the
this. Are you
text
kidding
line.
me right
Kiss
now?
me through the text line.
Oh, that's what that was. I thought this was some romance, John. We heard gonna have a conversation. That was Romeo Dobbs and Matt LaFleur yesterday. I didn't know if it was like, hey man, just kiss me through the phone. We're all good.
Yeah, this was high school for you, right?
We'll be all straight. It'll be all good.
That's
Oh
what-
yeah, this was a big homecoming.
Yeah.
Sadie Hawkins, I think was how they called it, the little turnabout
When the
dance
girls
when the
asked.
girls
Yeah.
would ask the guys in February.
We didn't have Sadie Hawkins at Dover.
No?
No.
Guys had to ask every single time.
Oh, every time.
You know what? I don't think we did either, but they started to develop
How'd
one
you feel about that,
at the
John?
end of my high school career.
First time I heard of the theory, I thought the world's changing.
Yeah,
Things
it's
are
like, oh,
different.
2024. All right, let's
The
go.
world's changing. Things are different. Got to get used to this stuff. Now you're telling me I got 2 girls. I'm a girl dad. I was the one who had to ask my entire life. Now I got girls. I don't teach them how to ask. Stuff doesn't make sense.
Well,
Just get a poster board. I'm seeing John right now at these high school games. We had a couple of youngsters pop the home. It's promposal is the easier way when it's prom.
Yeah,
But
but it's
have-
homecoming season.
Have
now.
the homecoming question.
Oh yeah, I'm a sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we
like-
had a couple kids do that on Friday night, and I was like, hey, let's be a little more creative than flowers and a sign. Oh, I'm proud of you. Good on you for going out there and asking. But let's ramp up the romance.
Well, I'm
a little
gonna
bit
do
here. Come
stuff a little differently.
Oh, okay.
You gotta
Okay.
ask, you got to ask in person. No reading it on a piece of paper, on a device, on a pad.
on. I like that. Yes.
Nothing like that. It's got to be face to face, verbally, like I used to do it back in the day. And my wife took it a step further. She goes, "Yeah, and there's no saying no. There's no saying no." My wife was not allowed to say no when she was in her mom had one rule: you don't say no. Someone asks you, you're
Whoa.
locked in.
Wow.
You're
So first
in
guy
like
asked.
Flint.
That's
Oh, the first person that
Oh,
asked her, she had
that's
to say yes
awesome.
to, and she's like, "You don't understand how I used to run around the school just ducking and dodging people."
Wow.
Oh, hold on, I'll catch up to you later.
that would have been invaluable information to know if you're a dude that wanted to ask that girl.
Armin's like, where were those girls at Greenfield
Well,
High School?
because back then this is pre-social media, so there wasn't
This
the
is-
of all the fish in the sea. Will you go with me? Type
Yeah, you
pictures.
bring a goldfish.
No, you
You
ask.
accidentally don't
you're
say
at
no.
the
You throw the
locker,
goldfish,
you-
dies.
If someone's at their locker, they're doing their combination. I got them cornered. You go right there. They can't move. Hey, you got a date yet for the homecoming?
The one thing about
I did
Lindsay
get
and
the
I-
call me later. Check on it though. I did get that one. See, that's what always made me worried about the Sadie Hawkins. That if that were to come, there is this insecurity that you might not get recruited. You might not get asked. You know, and that was a scary thought. Sorry, John. I just had to get that out because that
I'm
was
glad
what you
got
did.
it out.
Oh no, she's doing the combination on her locker. I got 15 seconds. You know, it's like dismantling a time bomb. You know. So I don't know if you have any. If you ask anybody, I know your friends going this and that. My friend, this and that. We can go ride together, get a ride for my mom, and all that stuff. So, man,
I just-
sweating it out. Let me tell you,
We're,
sweating it
we're,
out.
we're going to do things a little old school. You got to keep some things old school. If they're going to bring back bell bottoms, if they're going to bring back mullets,
Yeah,
they're going
Jenkos.
to bring back mustaches.
Mhm.
They're back.
Oh, it happening, yeah.
We're going to bring back some old school, just the way you do things. We're going to bring it back.
That means that they're going to knock on the front door. And could you imagine that 15-year-old kid in his pants as he knocks on that door?
Excuse me,
And John
Mr. Coon, is
John
your
Coon
daughter
opens
home?
the door and he said, "Who's asking?" Oh God, that's going to be awesome. You want to talk about Ring doorbells? We need that footage.
Where's your tie, son? You came up to my door and you didn't wear a suit.
The
No
crazy
jacket,
thing is,
Mr.
too, like,
Coon?
did your mom and dad know pretty much everybody in the neighborhood, pretty much everybody that went to your school?
Yeah, for the most.
Billy?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
Decent
My,
amount of them,
I said
yeah.
they knew
A
my
decent amount of
friends.
them, yeah.
My friends. They didn't know
I
everybody.
moved around a lot as a kid, so like there was always a new group of kids at my school and
Mhm.
you know, stuff like that. So that, like, my parents never really got to know the kids all the way through. Like, my kids are already going to school with kids that they've been in school with for 5 years. So by the time they get to dance, I'm going to know these kids for a solid 10 years.
Oh yeah, you
I'm
got.
going to know everything that makes them weird, everything that makes them different, every little dumb thing they've done in their whole life. So like, even this 15-year-old boy who's really got his stuff together now, I'm going to know that when he was, you know, 8 years old on the playground, he stuck mulch down another kid's shorts. Like, I'm going to know these dumb things about these kids.
Right. That's a good point.
Heller is already, I know, waiting to text me because he had a very similar situation with one of his like 89 daughters where she said no. And Mike said, really? You understand how much courage it took for that young man to ask you that? You probably should have said yes. Dad, how dare you? Oh my God. That's so embarrassing.
Yeah, Dad, you know.
Do you understand how tough that would have been for me to do? I'm not trying to do that. And I was like, I'm just bringing it up. Sorry, I apologize. I'm just bringing it up.
Like, you know how much courage it took me to say no?
To say no? Oh my God.
Johnny, right. Gonna slip an air tag in his back pocket when he asks. You know, so you can always track the kid. You know,
I'm gonna mess with so many people. My kids awesome. Mostly, but I'm gonna mess with so many kids. It's not even gonna be funny.
I cannot wait.
I already kind of mess with the kids, and they're only 9. My wife's like, you can't do it when they're 9. You can't do.
That's when the best time is.
You can do it now. I can do it now.
Still believe me. I have to say these things now.
Best thing is they still
when
believe
they get older, they will stop believing me.
Yes. So good. I love that.
Stop believing me. It will be way harder to prank him. All right. 414-799-1973. NicolayLaw.com talking text line. We got to get our picks in for You Better, You Better, You Bet. Thanks to Carnivore, Milwaukee's premier steakhouse. We love you, Carnivore. Over 15 years, allowing the classic steakhouse to meet a modern experience at Carnivore, Milwaukee's premier steakhouse.
All right, time to sing. Let's do it.
Thought I was closer.
Yeah, you were, but I had to back it up. It's a long story.
You better.
It's not your fault. You better, you better, you bet.
You better.
You better, you better, you bet. Bet your life.
All right, you better bet that when we say texters ready, set, go, we get responses.
Yeah, if you ask us and we say no.
Callers looking at you. So you fumbled the bag. Don't know when we'll go back to the phone calls. Maybe tomorrow. Who knows? But the text line was the anxious participant and the ready, willing, and able pickers. And Schwartz-Center was at the top of his list for his week 6 picks. And you better, you better, you bet. Thanks to Carnivore, Milwaukee's premier steakhouse. All right, John, into the investment hour. Let's go. Schwartz-Center's first pick. He's taking the Cardinals, catching 5.5.
Damn.
At Lambeau Field. Was Packers laying 5 last night? Moving around a little bit.
There's that magic number, though, 5.5. There's that magic number, 5.5.
That's the boogeyman.
That's a scary number. That's a scary number, 5.5. That is the boogeyman's number for a team in the Green Bay Packers that haven't played a complete game yet. Yeah. They have not. They have not, in my mind. Damn. This Packers team is 3-2. And this is what good teams do. They win games that they have not played well in. The Packers are 3-2, and I'd say they played one good game. I don't know if they've played a complete game.
Yeah, I would agree with you on
this
that.
Is it. This is it.
In the Arizona Cardinals, you want to talk about a team coming in with full of confidence. Kyler Murray, 50-yard scamper yesterday. He put his hand up, John, when he crossed the line of scrimmage.
He said, bye. He said, bye. I thought he threw the cheetah up at first, but he didn't. He just threw his hands up. Here's the deal. Would you rather your team win before coming into play you? A lot of people do. They want that team feeling high on the
high on the hog a little bit.
What do they call it?
I think it's high on the hog.
On your high horse?
I almost called it high on the horn, but I think it is high on the hog.
Ouch.
Some teams want them.
That would be painful.
Some people want them, beaten down, no confidence. Some people want them flying high. I don't know, but I know this. Kyler Murray's got a couple games this year, 2 to be exact, where he's looked supremely good, like old school Kyler Murray. We do not need that going on this next Sunday.
He's coming into Lambeau though now, so let's see what happens.
I would also like to see Jair Alexander back to cover Maserati Marv. I'd like somebody to be able to cover Marvin Harrison Jr., and I'd like it to be Jair Alexander. All right, second pick is the Chicago Bears. Now, you want to talk about a team that's coming in high on the hog, putting up 36, blowing out the Carolina Panthers. The Chicago Bears in week number 6, as we anxiously await the interesting name that they will be lining up against here coming up. They host the Jacksonville Jaguars in London at 8:30, and they are a minus 2-point favorite. Scrolled right past it like 18 times, as they say right there out in London against the Jags. You want to talk about a team that needs a win, though? Jags, they love playing in London. Bears, the home team, technically, John, laying 2.
Yeah. The Bears, how'd they get this schedule lined up really nicely for them? Carolina and then Jacksonville back-to-back like this. The Jags, though, finally got the win. I love Doug Peterson after the game, asking if Trevor Lawrence got the monkey off his back. He goes, Trevor Lawrence? What about me? What about me? maybe you guys stop giving me these questions every single week. I mean, he had a little Rodney Dangerfield in him when he was, what about me? Oh, come on, guys. What about me?
He
It's a
said
third
the monkey
animal
on his
reference.
back. Yeah, the $250 million monkey. I'll hold that monkey. I know the one that I'm sitting with might be my parting papers here pretty soon if I'm Dougie P. All right. Pick number 3 from SportsCenter. He's taking the Indianapolis Colts. Now, we don't know if they'll be led by Joe Flacco or Anthony Richardson. Joe Flacco in the fourth quarter, perfect passer rating, 2 TDs, falls short in an L. They lay 1 at the Tennessee Titans coming up, who are coming off their bye week, John.
Yeah, and it's fun. Joe Flacco all the way for me. If I'm picking the Colts, I need Joe Flacco here because all of a sudden Alec Pierce looks like a wide receiver who was drafted high in the draft. Now that he's got Joe Flacco throwing to him. And the Tennessee Titans, did they figure out what they needed to find out for Mason Rudolph or Will Levis, whoever's playing quarterback here during the bye week? These two teams scare me. I don't know how anybody ever picks these games, picks a game that involves the Colts, the Titans. I'll throw the Patriots in that mess. Jaguars. I mean, he's going after all the teams that I stay away from.
Game like this is why sports books exist. That's exactly what you put this thing together for. All right, he's taking the Pittsburgh Steelers laying 3 in Las Vegas. Now, they lose last night. John, you want to say that a road crowd will take over Allegiant Stadium? The Terrible Towels will take over Las Vegas.
And the Steelers are another one of those teams that's a blink away from being undefeated. And Mike Tomlin's got a good thing going here with Justin Fields. And I know every week it's, Russell Wilson isn't ready to come back. They should just ride this Russell Wilson isn't ready to come back thing. The same way one of our texters said on the Talking Text line, he's wearing a Xavier McKinney jersey every week because Xavier McKinney got a pick in the first game and he's going to wear it every single week until he doesn't get it.
Yes. Yep. And also, I think the Yinzers would be a lot of fun in Sin City. That seems like a team and a fan base that I would want to party with. Final one is the lock. He's taking the Chargers off their bye week. They go to the Denver Broncos, lay 3. Man, Denver catching points at home in a game. I like that if I'm Denver.
Yeah. Harbaugh, Peyton, both kind of have their grips on their teams now. They're both starting to look like the teams we expected them to look like. Bo Nix, not some Jaden Daniels type rookie, but a rookie that can win football games with a team that's gritty, dirty, and nasty. That's what the Broncos are in the Chargers. Yeah, this thing could go under all the way. 36.5 total. I might bet the under on that.
Yeah, it might be 13-10, and that's saying a lot. That is You Better You Bet. Great work, SportsCenter. Find out next week for week 6 how you go. We'll get a full review of week 5 tomorrow, and we'll have our quick trip takeaways on the other side on a Victory Chicken Monday. They got good chicken. You could go and celebrate a Victory Chicken Monday at Quick Trip. Maybe that's our takeaway on the other side. It's Kuhn, Billy, and Armin, 9 to noon on the Game. Quick Trip takeaways of the day brought to you by Quick Trip. Need some for dinner tonight? Don't cook. Stop by your local Quick Trip. Pick up a freshly prepared, absolutely delicious take-home meal. You might even find
Chicken, baby. Chicken. Victory chicken. Oh, they got all kinds of chicken. They got pieces. They got chicken tenders. They got all
pieces.
Well, in bone-in.
They got legs. They got wings. They got breasts.
Sandwiches.
They got tenders.
All of it.
And they got sandwiches.
And spicy chicken sandwiches.
And the chicken sandwiches. I love it. You can probably find chicken in all forms, and I'm very excited about it because it's Victory Chicken Monday. Baby.
It is a Victory Chicken Monday. I am fired up to fire up the Traeger once we get back from practice, and there's going to be some smoked chicken.
You're gonna smoke a chicken
later on tonight.
That's awesome.
Not a whole chicken. I think we're gonna smoke some chicken wings.
Pieces, wings. Get some wings. Yeah.
All the nooners out there, take a
pieces.
picture of your chicken today and send it to us tomorrow. We want to see your Victory Chicken.
They got chicken tenders, a Quick Trip. I don't even need a dipping sauce. It's so
That's
good.
maturity, John. You saw me bite my tongue right there. You saw me bite my tongue right there.
You're growing up. It's great.
At 9, the number 2 noon, send us your chicken pictures. We want to repost them.
Not the choking ones. All right. Our takeaway of the day brought to you by Quick Trip. How about the question?
He couldn't bite it long enough.
Couldn't bite it. I couldn't.
I knew I could get him in.
How about this one from Bonnie? She messaged into Murphy's Take 5, John Kuhn, and said, "We made a mistake playing Jordan Love. He cannot run the ball. His receivers." He was making very, very dangerous throws, whereas Malik Willis could run the ball, all in caps. Every time she says run the ball, you need to keep Jordan Love out. Malik was doing a great job. Thus, now we have our second loss of the season. Keep Jordan Love out until he can run the ball. Mark Murphy with the take of the day said, Bonnie, you don't need to run the ball to be a good quarterback. I think most people would agree that Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. And he could not run the ball, in all caps. Mark Murphy protected at all costs.
Mark Murphy's in his bag.
He just said, Bonnie, here's the mic. You can pick that up.
Does Murph have a ghostwriter now like Antonio Brown's Twitter?
Oh, that's a great call. It could be. It could be the guy that's running the AB Twitter account is doing Murphy's Take 5.
I am curious.
I'd be very fascinated.
That's a gangster comeback.
I love Mark Murphy. I absolutely love him. He's amazing. He needs to be on this radio program. We need to get Mark Murphy on here to get some of those takes potentially one of these times.
Yeah, that'd be
Red
great.
hot.
Red hot. We're working on it. 414-799-1973 is the NicolaLaw.com talking text line. Join in the Mike Heller show. That comes up next. We will hand it off to Mike Heller on the other side. And you can also get after Armin and let him know that you were closest on your Packers score prediction for Packers and Rams. So do it now. And we will be back tomorrow. And we'll try somehow to be better on a Tuesday. It won't be a Victory Chicken Monday, but we'll still be celebrating a win. He's John Kuhn. I'm Billy Schmidt. That's Armin Sari. And it's been 9 to noon statewide on the game.
I'm working on it.